Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of Casual Chats. I am Patricia, and I'm here with two very special guests. I'm here with Jim Bevan. Welcome, Jim.
Welcome, Patty. It's been too long, but it's always good to reconnect with you.
Absolutely. And also, we have back Eli Stone, aka the Hero of Tomorrow. So, welcome back, Eli.
Good to be back.
All right, so today we are going to be looking back on the winners and nominees of animated films that were nominated or had won for Best Animated Film at the Academy Awards. So, as of the recording of this, recently, the 98th Academy Awards had happened, and we saw that the winner was K-pop Demon Hunters, and there were other several nominated films as well. There was Zootopia 2, Elio, Arco, and Little Lise. So I think that looking back on all the animated films that have either won or nominated, especially since it is the 25th anniversary of when that nomination first began in the Academy Awards. So I'm thinking, yeah, let's look back to see if there were some that they actually gotten right, or maybe that there were some that maybe they should have reconsidered for others. So yeah, let's look back on the very first, all the way back in the year 2001, where there were only three films that were nominated. This was before the standard, where it was five films that were nominated for Best Animated Film. And yeah, I mean, I guess we will discuss about if we think that these were the ones that were the major contenders at the time, or maybe there were some that would have been considered for the nominees. So at the time that this was around, we had Shrek for DreamWorks, Monsters Inc. for Pixar, and we had Jimmy Neutron Boy Genius for Nickelodeon. So yeah, I'd like to know from your thoughts. I mean, what do you think of these three films at the time that were nominated for Best Animated Film for the Oscars?
Shrek won, and I know this is a pretty cold take, but I think Shrek 2 was better. Shrek 2 was probably my favorite in the series until Puss in Boots: The Last Wish came along, which we'll get to later. And the original Shrek, while it was wild and subversive at the time, and I do still love the ending, I don't think it's the strongest this series has been, in my opinion.
Okay.
Jimmy Neutron is a fine movie, and honestly, in hindsight, I think I kind of respect it more. I do feel a bit protective of it because, well, back in the day, I was kind of trying to do the angry reviewer thing, and I gave this movie a pretty negative review, which I regretted later and went back to give it a more positive take.
Okay.
And it also has to be said, R.I.P. Jeff Garcia. You were great as Shane, even if he did get kind of overexposed later, but that wasn't your fault.
No.
And Monsters Inc. It's pretty good. Not my favorite Pixar movie or anything, but I still think it's got a lot going for it. Billy Crystal and John Goodman have good chemistry as a couple of best buddies. It's still pretty quotable, and it's got a lot of hard and funny moments. I think personally, of the nominees, I would have picked this one, and I think I get that Shrek at the time felt like something new, which is really funny considering how many times Disney would win after this. Also, these three nominees are wild. Judging by the small amount of research I did, I definitely would have included Millennium Actress as well, possibly Spirited Away, but I guess they were saving that for 2002. I personally would also have nominated Atlantis, but I know a lot of people don't love that movie like I do.
Yeah, and it's actually interesting because I mean, from some of the articles that I've been reading online regarding about the behind the scenes of what were some of the contenders for animated films that they wanted for the Oscars, Atlantis: The Lost Empire may would have been a contention, but it was due to some submission issues that it didn't make it the final cut.
Hmm.
Yeah, at least that's what, I've read. I mean, there's been a lot of rumors going around about, some of the films that work in contention, but again, that was just a theory that I've been seeing spread around. So maybe it was due to that. Maybe it was due to the fact that maybe it didn't do as successfully compared to Monsters Inc. I'm not 100% sure, but yeah, I think that the fact that, Monsters Inc. out of all the films being nominated, I guess conceptually, I could understand considering that Pixar was starting to get into its groove of becoming a reputable company where it had released four films at the time. It had released Toy Story 1, A Bug's Life, Toy Story 2, and then Monsters Inc. And so that was when their reputation really started to pop in for all the stuff that they were doing. And As for Disney, this was like the beginning of what many people like to call the post-Renaissance era or the Disney second dark era or the experimental era. Chris and I did a podcast on this several years ago, so you can go check out our thoughts onto those films if you want to know more information. So, yeah, Jim, why don't you give your thoughts onto these three films?
I do agree with Eli that Atlantis definitely should have been a contender for that year. I mean, Monsters Inc. was an enjoyable film, but when you put the two together, I think Atlantis would have won out for a Disney submission. And on that note, I do find it amusing that Shrek won because there's an urban legend that the Academy Award for Best Animated Feature was devised because they didn't want a Disney film taking home Best Picture, as it had been nominated for in the past a few times. And the inaugural win was to a movie that's taking the piss out of Disney.
Mm.
And it would also be even funnier considering how many times Disney and Pixar would win after this.
Yeah, that's pretty
True,
true.
true, true. From the pickings that we had, I mean, Jimmy Neutron, Monsters Inc. were enjoyable in their own ways, but of those three, I think Shrek was definitely the deserved winner.
Okay.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because when you look to these three films back to back to back, I mean, we're talking about like, okay, the other sequels didn't happen. So, Shrek 2 through Shrek the Third, Shrek Forever After, the Puss in Boots movies, they don't exist yet. Monsters Inc., Monsters University, and the Monsters at Work doesn't exist yet. And then Jimmy Neutron, the TV series hasn't happened. So, yeah, I would say that in looking into these three films and knowing about like, what it brought to the table, I can understand Shrek winning because it was completely different from what was featured in an animated film at the time, where it was satirizing what Disney was doing. And for the past decade, Disney had dominated the animated films, and every single studio at that time was trying to be the next Disney. We had, Warner Brothers try to do the same thing with Quest for Camelot. We had a lot of foreign studios try to, release their films and dub it into English, trying to do the same thing, kind of like what Panoa Films did for Princess and the Goblin. And Ness Entertainment tried to do the same thing with The Swan Princess. I mean, there was a lot of Disney clones. And the fact that, oh, we have this one film that is trying to be the anti-Disney, it definitely shook everything up. And it's kind of funny that we would have rip-offs or clones of Shrek for the next decade, where we had Hoodwinked and we had Happily Never After and we had
Yeah.
a whole bunch of other films that tried to be like, oh, we just need to parody fairy tales, or we don't need to worry about creating original songs. Let's just take pre-existing songs and put it into the movie because that worked for Shrek. So yeah.
Yeah.
And I think in that kind of retrospective, I can understand why Shrek won because it was the one that changed everything. I think this is like one of the films in animation history that was a game changer. Like it was, kind of like similar to how Toy Story was for the animation industry a few years prior, in which like everybody took 3D animation a lot more seriously than 2D animation. And so, yeah, I again, I wouldn't say that, out of the three, the original Shrek, probably wasn't the best. I do agree that Monsters Inc. was a little bit better, but yeah, again, I can see conceptually why Shrek was chosen. And as for Jimmy Neutron, yeah, this was kind of like the oddball, considering that Nickelodeon wouldn't be featured in the Oscars too much. They would only be featured like a handful of times, but yeah, they only won twice, and it wasn't for any of their properties, to believe it or not. It was actually one original film and then one that was based off of a comic book series in France, but we'll get to that later. But yeah, Aaron and I did a series of podcasts a few years ago during our Nicktoons movie month for Journey, for In Search of the Crystal Skull, and yeah, we did say that it was a pretty solid film. It was trying to be like an homage to kids films that were like around the 1980s, where it was just like a group of kids hanging out with one another, and then all of a sudden aliens come in, and then they have to rescue their parents right before they're eaten by aliens. And yeah, it was a little quirky, and yeah, I'm one of the very few people who actually prefer the movie over the show. I do think that the first season is very repetitive. It didn't get better until they introduced the villains in season two, and it got, again, it got a lot better in season three. And I know that they wanted to do more seasons, but then Aunt Bully pretty much killed it. And I know that there's still a fan base for Jimmy Neutron to this very day because of the memes and whatever, but still. Um, as a standalone film, yeah, I do think it's pretty solid. As for Oscar worthy, it does leave my head scratching a little bit, but yeah, I can understand for all three of these films, what they have in common is that they're all 3D animated films. And at the time, it was the future. People took it a lot more seriously than 2D animated films. And they wanted to highlight that this is the direction that we're going in. So, yeah, I can understand why those three were chosen as opposed to everything else. I mean, these were the other contenders for animated films, as far as I am reading through a list that was featured in an article. So, yeah, Millennium Actress probably would have been a contender for animated film. Atlantis again may would have been a probably would have been a contender, but due to submission issues, it wasn't. Again, Spirited Away would have been a contender if they would have released it. They would have done it around the same time, but again, they wouldn't do that until a year later. Waking Life, which is Richard Linklater's rotoscope film. And it's actually kind of funny because he tends to have a lot of his films nominated for Oscars, but they pretty much never won. And there was
Mm.
one that he did recently, which was Apollo 10 and a half, A Space Age Childhood, which was actually disqualified because they felt it wasn't animated in enough, even though that it was mostly rotoscope, just like his other films, but I digress. And then there
Yeah.
was Final Fantasy The Spirits Within, which is kind of hilarious when you think about it.
Yeah.
Like, wow. I mean, can you imagine? I understand why they possibly could have nominated it because, it was like, oh, here's this CGI film that was groundbreaking for its time and is based off of this really popular video game series in Japan. And it's like, yeah, but then the movie bombed and yeah, there's a reason why it didn't go anywhere after that.
It
Um,
killed Square's entire movie division because of how badly it bombed.
Yes, it
So,
Mm.
did. Yeah. If it wasn't for the fact that they sold the rights, if it wasn't for the fact they were bought off by Enix and then they released various other video games such as Final Fantasy X and Kingdom Hearts, we probably wouldn't even see them anymore because of how bad the movie was.
hmm.
Mm.
And yeah, Cowboy Bebop the movie was possibly a contender for the Oscars, and that would have been really
Oh,
awesome to see.
I was
yeah.
about to say the Cowboy Bebop movie was pretty good, and in my research for the missed entries thing, I tried to stick to movies that got a theatrical release because I think that's how it works. Although
Yeah,
that gets harder to define in the streaming era.
sure.
And when I was looking up entries, I found out Bill Plimpton has made a lot more movies than I thought he has
Yeah.
had
Yeah.
because starting here we have Mutant Aliens, which did get a theatrical release.
Yes, it
So
did.
like,
Yeah. Even though it was a very limited run because it was an independent film.
mhm.
And then
But
finally,
still, I do love Bill Plimpton's work, so I
yeah,
thought
it's
I'd shout
fantastic.
that
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
It's a shame that, his stuff didn't get nominated in the Oscars too
Yeah.
much.
I mean, he's done some Simpsons couch gags, and I'd say that's a bigger accolade.
Yeah,
Hmm.
but that kind of like would be featured in more the Annies than anything. And who knows, maybe we'll do a discussion about the Annies in the future. And
Ooh.
then finally, there's Metropolis, the anime based off of Osamu Tezuka's manga, based off of the old 1922 silent film. And yeah, that was also possibly a contender for Best Animated Film. Yeah, so again, I mean, looking at all of these films, I mean, it definitely just shows cases on, some of the variety that they try to do, but then they just stuck with, the three films that we know today, which,
Mm.
yeah, I'm just glad that we got a lot more variety afterwards.
Agreed.
Mhm.
Yeah. Anyway, so I know that we probably would be like discussing about every single year with every single movie that was nominated or and won, but we'd be here for hours and that would take too long. And so, yeah, I think that one of the things that we could do is that we can discuss about some of our favorites and our least favorite winners and nominations. So, yeah, Jim, why don't you go first? What were your favorite animated films that had won the Oscars for Best Animated Feature that for its respected year?
I guess I better get my nerd cred out of the way first. Into the Spider-Verse, which
Yeah,
won
that
in,
one's definitely up there.
yeah, that was, just such a, I mean, it was pretty stellar with not just the animation style, but really approaching the Spider-Man mythos in a different manner. And, I'm pretty sure that quite a number of people who watched that movie for the first time, and probably a lot of people on the Academy board were looking at it as like, wait, who is this Miles Morales character?
Yeah, that's true
So,
because only people who were like comic book fans would have known about the character of Miles Morales because, yeah, he wasn't featured in any of the TV series or any of the video games at the time just yet.
yeah.
So I think it did. I do think it was pretty stellar. It was also, I mean, I don't want to sound too nerdy, but if it was for people who wanted to show that the superhero movies could have a greater credibility, that it's not just all mindless popcorn entertainment, because this was around the period when Marvel was hitting with the deluge of like two, three movies a week, a year, all interconnected. Two, three movies a week. I don't want to give Disney any ideas.
At this point in time, I'm surprised they haven't done it yet.
Yeah, give them time. But yeah, that was definitely Spider Verse. I'd say was definitely a strong winner. Anyone else think that it earned the win for 2018?
I had like a list of several, but well, obviously Into the Spider Verse is up there, but I liked K-pop Demon Hunters, Guillermo del
Yes.
Toro's Pinocchio, Spirited Away, The
Mhm.
Incredibles,
Yeah.
Frozen. I know a lot of people don't like how overexposed it got, and I get that, but I'm actually a pretty big apologist for Frozen, honestly.
Huh.
Uh, Toy Story 3 and Coco, and that's only the ones that I super agreed
Yeah.
with.
Okay.
How do you feel about Rango?
I was very surprised when I saw that it had won. Like I did enjoy the movie, but I'm like,
Yeah.
seriously?
I don't know. This is probably going a deep cut, but I feel Rango was inspired by this old film movie called Z-Lig, which is about a guy who basically has no identity of himself, so he kind of adapts to whatever situation he's in. So I think they drew some inspiration from that. The only thing is, Z-Lig stars Woody Allen and Rango stars Johnny Depp, so that's two problematic entries.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this would be like one of two times in which Nickelodeon movies would ever win an Oscar for Best Animated Feature. Yeah, take that what you will, unfortunately, because it's funny because their other animated films, didn't even make it. Like, none of the Rugrats movies made it. The Walt Thornberrys movie wasn't nominated, even though that Father and Daughter by Paul Simon was nominated for Best Original Song, but it lost to Lose Yourself from 8 Mile, performed by Eminem. Yeah, like none of the SpongeBob movies were nominated, and Hey Arnold the movie wasn't nominated, and all the other animated films like Wonder Park or anything like that weren't even in contentions. Barnyard didn't even come close, even though that 2007 was a pretty terrible year for animated films. But yeah, it's just crazy to think about how out of all the movies that were nominated that year for 2011, that Rango won. I guess it must have been something that stood out compared to all the other nominees that would have been featured there. I mean, personally for me, I think Kung Fu Panda 2 would have been a major contender for winner.
I completely forgot Rango was a Nickelodeon movie.
It is. It's crazy to think that it actually is.
Yeah, Kung Fu Panda 2 is definitely great. I also really like The Cat in Paris.
Oh
Like,
yeah, I've heard about that movie, but I haven't had the chance to see it.
yeah. And although my personal pick for that year would have been another A Blank in Paris movie, A Monster in Paris. Like,
Oh.
I reviewed it some time ago. It's a scrappy little musical movie with a lot of charm and some great musical numbers. And somehow it's a great movie made by the director of Shark Tale.
That's
How'd
crazy
that
to think
happen?
about.
People can surprise you.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very similar to how my recent episode of Animation Jukebox, I was talking about how Glitch Text has a really great soundtrack, and it's one of the creators was Eric Robles, and Eric Robles, I think he was the co-creator of Fanboy and Chum Chum.
Hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, that just goes to show you about like, oh yeah, one person did this program or this film, but then they also did this, and it's like a major juxtaposition. So yeah, that's crazy to think about. But yeah, I do agree that definitely some of the picks that you have chosen were definite highlights. I mean, K-pop Demon Hunters. Um, I haven't seen Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, but I definitely do want to see it. Enter the Spider-Verse, I think very similar to Shrek, was another major game changer because a lot of animated films that came out afterwards did the same colorful hybrid animation. Like Mitchell's versus the Machines. You had like the new TMNT movie, Intergalactic, obviously K-pop Demon Hunters, and recently Goat. So yeah, they definitely did decided to like break away from the same animation that we've had for the past 25 years, where it's just like mostly just plain CGI. And so yeah, that's also a reason why I think it would have won. It's kind of funny to think about. I remember that there was this one picture that was floating around from somewhere on social media of somebody actually saying that Incredibles 2 was going to win that year. And there was actually somebody who took a photo from Walmart of a DVD that said Oscar winning film, The Incredibles 2. And
Oh,
the Oscars didn't even come out yet.
Hmm.
yeah.
So they think that they really thought that Incredibles 2 was going to be the winner that year.
Yeah. It's like reminds me of that. It reminds me of that Simpsons episode where Mr. Burns tries to get his own movie made, and he's bragging about how he bribed everyone in Hollywood. Okay, deep cut there.
Yeah.
Dewey defeats Truman.
Oh
Yeah.
God, yes, Dewey
Yeah.
defeats Truman. Yes. Or going back into the whole Shrek thing, it's like it was the Gulag Project. It was going to be the project that we were going to stick all the animators who had failed to impress Jeffrey Katzenberg when doing The Prince of Egypt, which was supposed to be the magnum opus movie that DreamWorks was going to be infinitely known for. And then guess what ended up being the film that kickstarted DreamWorks' popularity? Shrek.
I, I mean, The Prince of Egypt was a better movie, in my opinion, but
It is a better
still.
Yeah.
movie, yes,
But
but unfortunately, it wasn't. It wouldn't have been a contender for best
yeah.
animated film at the time. But however, it did get away with an Oscar because it did win for best original song, "When You Believe," performed by Whitney Houston and Mariah Carey. And another
Hmm.
film that was another song that was actually nominated but lost was "The Prayer" by Celine Dion and Andrea Bocelli for Quest for Camelot.
Yeah, for
Wow.
Quest for Camelot of all movies.
Yeah. It's funny because I even mentioned that that song has outlived Quest for Camelot in every single regards. Like
Good.
everybody has performed it. Celine Dion, Andrea Bocelli, Josh Groban, Donnie McClurkin, Yolanda Adams, everybody has performed that song in one way, shape, or form. Not even knowing that it came from an animated film that bombed.
I hate to bring it up, but even Doug brought up when he talked about it how it had nothing to do with the scene that it was in.
It
So,
didn't. No, it doesn't. Not even close.
Yeah. Yeah. That would be like if Castle on the Clouds was used in a comedic puppet movie.
eh.
Oh God. Anyway, so yeah, other animated films. Spirited Away, even though that I do think that it does get a little bit overexposed when it comes to like the Ghibli films, I do enjoy the film and I do think it definitely should have won that year. And then you had like, Incredibles 2, Finding Nemo, you had Toy Story 3. Yeah, I do like Frozen. Not a big fan of Frozen 2, but I do like Frozen, even though that I did
Same.
see the overexposure. My sister's best friend had a daughter who was 8, and that song was everywhere. I also
Yeah.
listened to it a lot on the radio when I was driving to work. And every mom's kid sang that song on stage for talent shows and stuff like that. So, yeah, I was in the overexposure crowd. I do enjoy Inside Out and Zootopia and Coco as well. And then some of the more recent films like K-pop Demon Hunters, I also do enjoy as some of my favorites.
I already mentioned Rango and Spider Verse and K-pop Demon Hunters, which I'm sure we'll be gushing about a lot more later.
Hmm.
The Incredibles. I think that should have been a one and done, but that's just me. But it was a really good take. Another intelligent superhero movie.
Hmm.
Boy and the Heron.
I haven't seen that yet. I really should.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Boy and the Heron was great. It just wasn't the one that I would have preferred that year.
Yeah, honestly, it was tough for me to choose between because that and Nimona had their like both could have made the argument to be the winner.
And that would be why. So,
Yeah. And Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio.
while I wasn't that big a fan of the story, I've just never really been big into the Pinocchio story. I appreciate it on its technical merits, on all the effort that went into making it and making it so lively. And plus, it's the only time we will ever hear Tom Kenny voice Mussolini.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
also
very
like
true.
it feels like this is the version of Pinocchio that only Del Toro could have made, which I really
Yeah.
appreciate.
Hmm.
Yeah, and he was trying to do this movie for decades. And of course, everybody remembers that speech that Del Toro did during both the Oscars and the BAFTAs, where he was talking about how animation is not a genre, it's a medium, and we should take it seriously. And it had gotten all of the animation community exciting and just stood up and applauded, especially since, in previous years where we've gotten a lot of terrible pre-speeches for best animated film where they just downplayed it saying like, oh, this is for my kids or that kind of stuff. And it just makes it feel even more embarrassing to admit that you like animated films.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, even in the recent 98th Academy Award, when the critics were talking about like, oh, what movie would they choose to be the winner for the animated film category? Some of them even said, "Oh, I haven't caught up with animated films because my kids are too old, and so I'm gonna skip on my vote." That just pisses me off because that's your job. Your job is to watch all the films and vote on which one is the best. Not just because, oh, what is the one movie that my kids are obsessed with? I'm just going to go with whatever they say.
Yeah. I mean, that would be like people who make the nominations for video game awards not playing the games and just giving it to whichever one has the most hype. Oh wait.
Oof. Ah. Okay, moving on. So, let's talk about the movies that won that year that we felt that maybe it was the wrong call. So, who wants to go first with this one? Because I have a lot to say on some of these.
Well, straight up to start off with, I will say the 2006 nominees were bullshit.
They are
I don't
bullshit.
I don't think any of the choices were outright bad movies, but they picked the most mid-tier American animated movies, and not a single foreign film got nominated.
To be
And
And
fair, every single animated film shouldn't have been nominated because they were all mediocre or they all sucked. I
well,
mean,
while 2000,
Even Nordy said that, 2007 was like, the worst a year for animated films, and so was 2017. It's like, well, 2006 may be up there.
I agree up to a point. While 2006 had a lot of meh movies, that was also the year of Paprika, and my
Okay,
personal
okay, let me
pick,
let me correct myself. American animated movies.
yeah.
do you
And
count? What about Scanner Darkly? Though that was rotoscoped.
yeah,
Yeah, that's another Richard Linklater, and yeah, I mean that would have been great if it was nominated, especially since Aaron and I did see that for our Keanu Reeves month, and it was definitely the most ambitious film that we've ever seen for Crystal Skull, due to the animation and due to the social commentary based off of a Philip K. Dick novel. I think that that would have been great, but yeah, it's rotoscope and it definitely looks more live action than anything, so I can see why it wasn't nominated.
and we've also got my personal pick for the best animated feature that year, The Girl Who Leapt Through Time.
Oh, that's a great one.
They didn't even nominate Tales from Earthsea, which is honestly kind of a mid-tier Ghibli movie, but still, it feels like they didn't even try that year.
No,
And
yeah, you're right.
I also don't think Brave deserved to win in 2012, though I don't think it was an awful movie.
Well, I say that it was a more disappointing movie because I remember when I first saw the teaser trailer for it, and I remember when it was called The Bear and the Bow, and then hearing all the behind the scenes story about how Brendan Chapman was fired, and then they had to rewrite a whole bunch of things, and they had to bring in some new people to change up the story and the mythos and everything, and seeing what ended up being, yeah, I was just more disappointed than saying like, oh, this movie is just absolutely awful. I mean, it did have some questionable moments to say the least, but. Yeah, I mean, I would just put it at like one of the lower tier Pixar movies, but not like one of the worst Pixar movies. But yeah, it definitely is a very questionable winner, considering that there were a lot better films that had been released and possibly could have won that year.
I mean, if they had called it by its proper title, if they called it by its more accurate title, Mother Bear, I don't think it would have gone anywhere.
Very true. Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, I'm still one of those people who felt that Pixar's short where they were explaining about the origins of Mordu. I felt that that should have been in the movie. That way, it would have given a better explanation on who the character was and what importance they had to the mythos of the story, as opposed to just being like really quick and just blink and you'll miss it kind of thing. But yeah, that's just me in my opinion.
Oh, absolutely.
It's interesting because in 24 what was it, not in 2014, what was it, 2019, that's what I was going to say. Toy Story 4 won that year, and I thought Klaus should have won this one.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. I would agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, Klaus was a much different movie than anything else that would have been out that year. I mean, I do enjoy How to Train Your Dragon: The Hidden World, but it wasn't as good as 2. Missing Link, I felt was a little bit boring. I'm not a big fan of it, even though I do like Leica films, and I've never seen I Lost My Body, so I can't really comment on
I haven't either, but another shout out that I would definitely like to give is Pro Mayor. It
Promare.
absolutely it absolutely deserved a nomination. It's the best Gurren Lagann movie by far. And
Oh, well, you know what? I mean, shout out to all the anime fans who wanted to see a film based off of an anime be nominated into the Oscars. I know that there were so many people who wanted to see, something along the lines of Chainsaw Man or Jujutsu Kaisen or One Piece or something like that be nominated into the Oscars. But man, I mean, when you consider about like who the judges are, I mean, that's a long stretch. Unless you get like a judge who is a big otaku, then that's going to be something that's going to be probably in the long run, but I don't think anytime soon.
yeah, like I loved the Race movie, but I'm not deluded enough to think that it would have been nominated for an Oscar.
Yeah. Anyway, but I'm trying to think about anything else. I mean, like, I'm sure that you probably already know about the infamous story about what happened in the 78th Academy Awards, where Hayao Miyazaki decided to come down to America himself, thanks to John Lasseter, and he immediately thought that Howl's Moving Castle was going to be the winner, and out comes that Wallace and Gromit: The Curse of the Were-Rabbit one, and that picture of him looking disappointed is spread across the internet, and he never
Yeah.
came down for another Oscar ever again.
Quite frankly, I don't blame him. I'm assuming there was like some kind of miscommunication that or Lasseter was just lying to him. But I can understand his disappointment because I thought Wallace and Gromit was, yeah, I have to say this because you're now living in the UK, and if I diss Wallace and Gromit, it's like so, I'll never be invited into the country. But it was a good movie. It had like a lot of some good stop motion animation, a lot of good clever jokes. But compared to Howl's Moving Castle, which was just a visual masterpiece, like I said, I can understand why Miyazaki and so many Ghibli fans were upset by that decision.
You know what? Aaron's not here, but I have to say the same thing. I do
Yeah,
agree. I Hall's Moving Castle should have won that year. I'm sorry. I do love Wallace and Gromit. I do appreciate the hard work they were able to put into it, especially since this was before the fire that destroyed the entire studio, and then most of their work was completely burned away, and they lost everything, which is why they switched over to CGI for the first couple of years after they come back. So yeah, I do say that I do enjoy Wallace and Gromit. It's a great film, but yeah, I love Howl's Moving Castle so much. Corpse Bride shouldn't have been nominated. I'm sorry. I saw it for the first time just 2 years ago when I was doing Tim Burton month for Old Spookling Creepy Chats, and I'm sorry. I mean, I just wasn't impressed with it. I just thought that okay, the animation looks really nice, but then it's Tim Burton, what's to be expected. But I just didn't find the story very engaging. The music numbers weren't that memorable, and I didn't. I mean, the whole argument about like, oh well, the corpse bride, Emily. I mean, obviously she should have been the one that Victor would have been with because when he's with Victoria in the beginning of the movie, who's wed, they're engaged to be married, they have literally no chemistry whatsoever. So it's like, yeah, I'm gonna go back to the living, even though obviously that's the thing to do because you're still alive. To go back to this marriage that I'm forced to be a part of with somebody that I have no, chemistry with or no relationship with. And then, I'm going in the dead world, and then I'm with somebody who actually has a lot more personality, but then she has to deal with the disappointment that she can't get love in the living world and she can't get love in the dead world. So, Yeah, I'm sorry. I just wasn't impressed with it. I think that, I mean, I understand that 2005, was n not a lot of pickings for animated films that year, but still, I mean, I would have chosen at least something else.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, I went through a lot of the entries, and most of the ones that didn't get nominated were pretty hit or miss, like Hoodwinked, Chicken Little, Madagascar, and Robots, which some people really like, even if I wouldn't call myself one of them, though I do like
I'm
the
not
art
one of them either.
style.
I just don't get the hype. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I like the art style. It's
Sure,
not
that's
it,
fine.
and the musical number at the end was kind of fun, but still.
Anyway, but yeah, you're right. It definitely was a bit of a hit or miss thing. It's like, oh, you have, you do have, Were Rabbit, and you do have, all the other nominees. But yeah, I mean, everything else was like direct to video or, I mean, you have like the foreign films, sure, but I mean, again, it's, th those were also pretty slim picking. So yeah, I can understand in concept on why they chose them, but still, it was like, man, you're just like, doing slim pickings on whatever was available, weren't you? This is something I really wanted to talk about. The 82nd Academy Awards around 2009. This was a stacked year for animated films. Like every single time in which I was looking through what was released that year, I was like, oh man, any of these could have won. Up was the winner, but then you had Coraline, Fantastic Mr. Fox, The Princess and the Frog, The Secret of Kells. You had Summer Wars, you had Monsters versus Aliens, you had a whole bunch of other films that were released that year, and it was like, wow. I mean, 2009 kind of went off of a banger when it came to their animated films.
Yeah.
Very.
Also, shout out to Nine and Red Line, which is fucking amazing, but I don't think the Oscars would have picked it.
That yeah, definitely not nine because I don't think it made a dent on on the box office.
It's an okay movie, though.
I do like the animation.
Yeah.
But yeah, the story, it was just like not, it was just whatever.
But yeah, The Secret of Kells absolutely should have won. Like,
Oh,
Uh, I'm torn between Secret of Kells or Coraline, and I feel a little guilty mentioning Coraline given it's based on a book by the now canceled Neil Gaiman. But
mm.
it really did have a lot of great atmosphere and that nice, surreal stop motion quality that really enhanced it.
also, I can't really ignore The Princess and the Frog. Like, it really deserves so much better. It didn't do well enough, and Disney pretty much killed their hand-drawn animated movies after this, and Winnie the Pooh didn't do that well. But I think it's a really solid princess movie with some great music, animation, and voice acting.
I do
Agreed.
agree. Princess and the Frog was a fantastic film, and it definitely does deserve a lot more attention. And I think this might be a hot take, but actually, Tiana's like my second favorite princess of all the Disney princesses.
Oh, Tiana's great.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I love her so much. She is fantastic. I'm really sad that they don't, Tiana's not brought up as like one of the top tier princesses compared to like Snow White or Cinderella or Ariel or Belle or anything like that. I mean, even Moana gets more attention than Tiana does. And I was really disappointed when I heard about how her Disney Plus series was canceled because I was really looking forward to seeing more stories with her. But I
yeah,
mean, at least that, she is going to get that ride in Disney to replace Splash Mountain. So I guess there's something.
yeah. And Friends on the Other Side should have gotten a music nomination, I think.
Oh yes, that was so
Definitely.
good. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of funny because I mean, with Randy Newman songs, I know that he's a little bit hit and miss with his stuff. It's like, oh, everything just sounds pretty samey, but considering that he is, from New Orleans and the fact that he's able to, write all of those songs that were inspired by, Louisiana's culture, I think that it was actually done pretty well. And I remember listening to that Talking Tunes with Rob Paulson where Jim Cummings was the guest and he was talking about like, oh, when I was doing Ray the Firefly, I was recommending to Randy to do a Zydeco song, and that's how Down by the Bayou was made because of Jim Cummings' recommendation.
Cool.
Again, 2009 was a great year for animated films, and it's like, oh, choose a particular favorite. I mean, I would have loved to have seen maybe Summer Wars get nominated. That would have been really good because I really do like a lot of Mamoru Hosoda films, and I'm trying to think. I mean, Monsters versus Aliens, I do think it was a pretty decent Pixar film, but I can understand why it wasn't nominated that year, considering that, a lot of the other films that were coming out were, pretty stacked. Fantastic Mr. Fox, I think probably would have been a great contender to win that year because just how amazing that film turned out to be.
I mean, it did get a Criterion release for whatever that's worth.
Sure. I mean, that's not very often where animated films get a chance to be on the Criterion Collection because, everybody's looking forward to, oh, these are the classic films from, the 1940s, or, here's this foreign film or something like that. So the fact that an animated film is in the collection, it does have a lot to say on how great the quality is.
And I know a lot of people like to poke fun at Wes Anderson's directing style, saying it's all just people being quirky and staring at the camera unnecessarily long. But you just watch this. You don't even have to watch any. I mean, you should watch his live action movies, but you just watch this and you see how he's so good at, imbuing everyone with such a incredible depth of character that makes them so compelling.
Yeah. If you do have the Blu-ray release, you should definitely look into the behind the scenes videos on how this was made. I mean, just how the attention to detail is immaculate. They were even able to have the voice actors, voice outside for the outside scenes or indoors for the indoor scenes and voicing their respected locations so that they can be able to get the sound correct. And yeah, even the detail of the stop motion is fantastic. They were able to have like hundreds of faces for Mr. Fox alone. And, some of the stuff is being displayed on museums. I actually did get a chance to see Mr. and Mrs. Fox when I was at the Roald Dahl Museum in Great Macedon last year. And it's just
Awesome.
so amazing about how intricate the details are with the clothes and the facial features and everything like that. I'm really glad that it did get a nomination, but man, it did not do well at the box office. I was one of the very few people who actually got to see this in theaters twice because one time I do love stop motion and I also love Roald Dahl books, so I heard about it and I wanted to see it. And the second time I loved it so much, I invited a friend of mine and her daughter to watch it, and she loved it too. So
Yeah.
yeah, I was able to have somebody be aware of it, but yeah, I guess it just wasn't enough because it just didn't do very well. But at least Wes Anderson did get a chance to do other stuff for Roald Dahl, like he did the four short films on Netflix.
You mentioned being a fan of Roald Dahl. I realize this is going a little off topic. How do you feel about the recent re-releases they've been doing of his books, where
Oh,
they
you mean the
take
ones where
out,
they've been changing the words? Yeah.
yeah, like they don't refer to characters as being fat or stupid or crazy, even though that like obliterates some of the context behind what the characters are like.
Yeah, I
Like,
do I do understand what they're trying to do, but I just don't think it works. I mean, that's just unnecessary
no.
censorship.
Yeah, there's a difference between taking out a racial slur and just saying someone is acting crazy when they make a bad decision.
Right, exactly. Yeah. I personally don't think it makes a lot of sense.
Neither do I.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although right now, Roald Dahl's been in a lot of talks recently because in London, there's a stage play going on right now called Giant, where John Lithgow is Roald Dahl, and is talking about the 1983 report from the what was it, the journalist who was asking him regarding about his statements on the racial stuff that he was saying regarding about the people who of I think it was Palestine or something, where he was saying like, about like, oh, Hitler didn't pick on the Jews for no reason or whatever. And
Ooh.
yeah, I mean, there's a whole play about it, about the actual things that were going on during the report that the journalist was doing. And I think there was like one thing where he was saying that, he was, just expressing how he was actually feeling. And at the time he was busy writing The Witches and he didn't want to like go too much into it because, that was just based off of what he was going through and his beliefs. I mean, especially since, he was a World War II vet and he was going through a lot of ups and downs at the time. Like, his daughter had just died. His first wife was sick and then he divorced her, married his second wife. His son was in a severe car accident, and then he patented something to help him feel better and recover from his injury. So, yeah, he was a guy who went through a lot of ups and downs in his life, if you know about his stories. But yeah, I mean, even some of his stuff that he had said was questionable, even to the point in which the Roald Dahl estate had to publicly apologize for all the stuff that he had to say. So, yeah, I mean, I can understand for some people saying like, oh, the stuff should be censored, but I mean, but again, knowing the context of what he was trying to write, No, you shouldn't censor about what he's trying to say. I mean, it's not offensive for a child. I mean, to the
Right.
point in which they would be questioning about like, why is this stuff even written? But I mean, I would just say, just keep reading if you want to.
Right.
Anyway, oh, what were we talking about again? Oh yeah, 2009. So, yeah, I think that Fantastic Fox would have been definitely a contender for a winner, in my opinion. It's not that I don't hate Up. I just think that, the first couple of minutes was just an absolute masterpiece. And some of the story beats that they were trying to do for the movie to try to make you feel something was a bit questionable at times. I even mentioned this, like, Russell, him being like the scout trying to go from place to place to get an additional badge. It's like, this character doesn't look like he knows anything about being a scout. I would have argued that he should have been a kid with no badges, saying like, oh, he should have been a kid who was trying so desperately to get the easiest badge in the world. Help a guy or a girl, I mean, help an old man or an old woman cross the street, and then he would have gotten a badge. And for like Charles Muntz, I mean, the motivation of him is just, I get that it's, he's trying to get revenge, but number one, he's doing something that is completely illegal. I mean, what is he going to do by the time that he gets back home after capturing the bird? It's an endangered species, almost to the point of being extinct. He would be immediately arrested. And also, his revenge would be null and void because everybody he would have tried to get revenge on would have been dead. So it's like, what is he doing this for? Just for himself? I mean, what kind of satisfaction would he get anyway? He would be in a lose-lose situation.
Though the climactic fight at the end being a battle between two old men is surprisingly funny.
It's kind of
But
it reminds me of with Liquid. It kind of reminds me of like Liquid Ocelot versus Solid Snake from Metal Gear Solid 4.
yeah,
Came
but
out
those
this.
guys were jacked.
It's true. They were jacked. Yeah, different context, different game, I know, but still, it's just like yeah, I just thought it was pretty funny considering that they came out a year apart. It's like, yeah, two old guys fighting on top of a flying object or on top of something. And yeah, this is just like, it's like the big stake. It's like, oh, is the world going to be controlled by nanomachines? Or, is Kevin going to be captured and sent to Charles Muntz in this blimp? It's like, what's going to be the big stake at this? Yeah, I mean, that was pretty cool, admittedly, but yeah, I mean, considering that all of the other films were completely stacked that year for great animated films. I mean, I understand that people love Up and they call it a masterpiece or anything like that, but I do think it's a pretty decent Pixar film, but I don't think it's one of their best, in my opinion. I know that people are going to be pissed when I say this.
I
No, I
actually
actually,
agree with you. I think most of the goodwill from Up comes for those first 2 minutes.
I
And
agree. I definitely do
yeah,
agree. I do think it comes from those first 2 minutes. And then afterwards, I mean, yes, there are a handful of good moments here and there. Like, when Carl, hits on the construction worker and then he's sued and then he loses his home. Or, when Russell's talking to Carl about wanting to spend time with his dad and, his stepmom won't let him and stuff like that. I mean, that stuff is good. But then you have other things that are mixed in there, which is like, people say that this is one of the best Pixar movies. Like, really? But I mean, yay, no account for taste, but still, it's like there were so many other films that came out that specific year that I thought were way better.
but that being said, I cannot hate Up because of one character, Doug.
Yeah, Doug
Like
is Doug is great. I do love
he's
Doug. Doug Days on
he's
Pixar is a really great, short Pixar series on Disney Plus, and also Carl's Date is adorable. I just think it's fantastic. I love that. Yeah, Doug is one of the great, minor characters in a Pixar series. I do love that character. Oh, I'm trying to think about like with 2021, with when Encanto won. I mean, I do see that there were some other films that were nominated, but I can see why people would argue that Mitchell's versus the Machines would have been a better choice.
it is definitely my personal favorite movie of the year, but I feel like it's kind of I'm kind of biased in that regard because it's a movie that feels like it was made for me. Like
Right.
not only is it really funny and made by an animation team I really love in a style I really love, but I've been in Katie's shoes as a young queer film student with parents that really didn't get my hobby, even if they tried to be supportive. Also, the emotional core of this movie being live your life really resonated with me too.
I had low expectations for this movie because I remember when this movie was called Connected, and I was hearing about all the stories about like, oh, it's supposed to be about this family who was obsessed with technology, and it's like, oh, really? We're gonna have a movie about, people who are saying technology bad and, regular stuff good. It's like, oh man, it's gonna shove it down your throat, isn't it? But yeah, I was completely wrong when they decided to take the movie into a direction I didn't expect it to.
But yeah, the phone bad message is not there, but it's a lot more nuanced than you might think it would be.
Yeah, that's true. Especially at the time, I remember that the reason why they changed, Mitchell's versus the Machines to Connected to back Mitchell's versus the Machines was because there was a Netflix series called Connected where it was kind of like the same premise about like people who were just obsessed with the internet and their phones and stuff like that and the ramifications they were going through. And I was just thinking, oh, is it going to be like that? So yeah, I'm glad it's not. I'm glad it's not that whatsoever. And especially since you have like Mike Rianda who worked on Gravity Falls and I think that Alex Hirsch was also a major help in this too. And then you have the geniuses of Lord and Miller coming in to executive produce. It's like, yeah, you can't go wrong whatsoever. This is an interesting one. I want to know about your thoughts. The 87th Academy Awards, Big Hero 6 won that year. I do like Big Hero 6. I think it's one of the more overlooked animated films that came out during the revival era, but I personally would have chosen How to Train Your Dragon 2.
I absolutely would have as well, but like I think Big Hero 6 is probably one of the most just okay Disney movies I've ever seen.
Fair
like
enough.
like I love Baymax, don't get me wrong, but the rest of the movie is just kind of there for me. And but I think out of the nominees, I probably would have gone for Song of the Sea.
Oh, okay.
Admittedly, out of the Irish folklore trilogy, I think Song of the Sea is probably my least favorite, but I do still really like it.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd agree
And
with you there.
and I also think the Lego movie deserved a shout out
Oh,
here.
yes,
Oh,
absolutely.
yes, yes.
It probably
Yeah.
wouldn't have won, but for a movie with a title like that, it is way better than it had any right to be.
Well, I mean, again, you have Lord and Miller to come in and showcase about like, oh, a movie about Legos. Oh, this is gonna suck, isn't it? But no, it didn't suck. It was actually amazing. And then you had all the other films that try to be like the Lego movie, like the Playmobil movie and Trolls and what was it like Ugly Dolls and all the other toy movies that try to cash in on the popularity of the Lego movie success.
I think so far the only other toy movie that's gotten it right is Barbie. So
Yep.
Oh, well, that's interesting because well that's live action, but yeah, I could see that.
Gonna go back a little recent. 2024, the 97th awards. How did you guys feel about Flo taking the win?
I haven't seen Flow, so I can't say anything about it.
I
Uh,
have. I think the movie did deserve recognition for the sheer feat it was to produce because Blender is not an easy software to work with, especially to make a feature-length animated movie. But as a movie, I don't know, it's fine, but I wouldn't call it my favorite of the year.
yeah.
Like,
It reminds me a
I,
lot of that game Stray, where the appeal is just watching a little cat go on strange adventures, but it doesn't have much substance to it. Honestly, I think for that year, Wild Robot should have gotten the win. And going back to Big Hero 6, if you like Baymax, you will love Roz.
yeah, like, and I would definitely agree with the Wild Robot, and I'm glad that it got nominated because you really should not sleep on Memoir of a Snail.
Oh,
Like,
no, you shouldn't. I was able to watch Memoir of a Snail courtesy of the AANE, which is the Autism National Organization. They because I signed up in their newsletter, I got a free screening of it, and the movie is amazing. As somebody who is an absolute huge fan of Adam Elliott's previous film, Mary and Max, Memoir of a Snail, I mean, it would have been my personal choice for a winner that year. It is absolutely beautiful and very similar to Mary and Max. It has this amazing, perfect balance of something that's really, really sad and really, really heartbreaking, but at the same time, it just has this uplifting and quirky and just happiness towards it. I absolutely loved it. Oh, it was so great that year. I absolutely found it to be an amazing masterpiece of a film.
yeah, it's one of the few movies that I think manages to strike a good balance between being really dark and sad and being really funny at times.
Yeah, very
Like,
similar to Mary and Max, in which it just has that great balance.
Yeah. And also Inside Out too. Like
Oh, yeah.
I kind of hate how much I love this one, mostly because they allegedly removed scenes that would have made Riley seem too gay, at least according.
Oh,
But like, I like this even more than the first movie. Like, growing up and dealing with new emotions, and I like that the movie didn't make anxiety an outright villain. Like, she is the antagonist for most of the movie, but she's really trying to do her best to help Riley deal with all these new responsibilities and feelings. Anxiety isn't evil in real life. It's just something that you have and you learn to deal with it one way or another. And I love that about the movie.
Oh, I,
And
I I
shout
love
out
that about the movie too.
also shout out to my boy Embarrassment. He's great too.
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
But
He is such a great character, played by Paul Walter Hauser, the same guy who played as Dark in Orion and the Dark.
well, and but even with all those, that is not my pick for the best of 2024. Mine would be Look Back. It's a beautiful, well told, fucking tragic story that's also very much about why artists continue to create because we couldn't stop even if we wanted to, even in the face of tragedy. Like, I'm a big fan of Chainsaw Man, but to me, this is Fujimoto's best work.
Wow.
Like,
Maybe it wasn't nominated because maybe it would have been like, oh, this is too personal. I can't choose this.
yeah,
But yeah, I mean, that sounds like a great film. I haven't had the chance to watch it, but I really do want to take a look into it. But yeah, very similar to 2009. I mean, 2024, a pretty great year for animated films. It's like, pick one. I do love The Wild Robot. I was able to see it in theaters with Aaron. Same thing with Inside Out 2. I saw Wallace and Gromit: Vengeance Most Foul in theaters because, I live in the UK and we got a small screen of it with a bunch of kids and adults who grew up with Wallace and Gromit from the very beginning. And yeah, it was a great time. I had a wonderful experience, and then I saw it again before Christmas when we saw it in the BBC iPlayer. And yeah, even though it's not as good as, say, Curse of the Were-Rabbit or some of the other shorts that they featured, I do think it was a pretty solid film, and I could understand why it was nominated. But yeah, I could also see why it didn't win for best animated film, just like Curse of the Were-Rabbit was. But I mean, I could see why Flow won because very similar to what I was saying earlier about Shrek, in which like it was the film that broke barriers. It was done by one person, passionate person, and 50 other people doing it in Blender with a very small budget compared to everybody else. They did it on a $3 million budget. And all the other animated films that were nominated that year had millions of dollars. It was done by 50 people, and all the other films were done by hundreds of people with decades of experience. These guys were just like, a few people who had their computers and they were doing it out of passion and love. And I could see why some people absolutely loved it because it's a movie that was made under the circumstances that it wouldn't have done really well. And the fact that they were able to put it out there and people got connected to it, it was a story that had little to no dialogue, and people from any parts of the world can understand what the characters were going through. And the fact that it was the first Latvian animated film that won that year. I mean, even the even Latvia has a statue dedicated to Flo because of how big of its cultural significance was. So, yeah, I mean, from what I've been hearing, I mean, I could see why people would say like, oh, it didn't deserve it because it doesn't have a lot of substance with the story, but I can see from the production, I mean, it does have a lot to be respected for.
Oh yeah, they definitely deserve their accolades, and there were some scenes in it that I admit I found a little too relatable. The one that hit me the most was when they're picking up the lemur, who has all these little trinkets he's collected as the waters are rising, and he's just trying to get as much as he can and looking on sorrowfully as the boat goes past and everything else just gets washed away. As someone who is a passionate collector and hates the thought of having to give something up either because of lack of space or for financial reasons, that does hit you a little hard.
Sure, I could see that.
yeah, the movie was really easy to follow, even without even with no dialogue. But except for the ending, I'm still not sure what happened there.
Yeah, I'm trying to think about any other film that would have been that had won that probably shouldn't have won. I'm trying to think because I mean, I could see why, for some argument it's like, oh, it should have won or it shouldn't have won. I mean, we talked about some of the obvious ones, but yeah, I guess we can go over some of the movies that probably weren't nominated, but maybe should have in their respected year, if anybody has anything that they want to go over.
Jim,
Uh,
you go first because I've got a list.
Oh,
okay.
goody.
Well, I've got a few that I can think of. I know Eli's probably got the most, but a few that definitely go off the top of my head. 2003, Tokyo Godfathers should have
Oh,
gotten an
yes,
nomination.
absolutely.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah,
I That's definitely one of the ones I
yeah,
have down as well. So,
yeah. We've already mentioned Paprika, so that's Satoshi Kon getting his credits. And 2007, which was another weak year, one I'm surprised never got one I'm really surprised didn't get nominated. The Simpsons movie. You
huh?
think that would have gotten a nomination?
Interesting.
Yeah, that is an interesting point. I didn't think of that actually.
Yeah, I
Eh,
didn't think of that either. I mean, I did know that it came out in 2007, but I was just thinking about like maybe they couldn't do it because it was The Simpsons, but then I was thinking about like no, that doesn't make any sense. Yeah,
They
maybe
gave.
that could have been contender.
They had. The South Park movie was up for some nominations in
It was
1999.
actually, and one of them was for Best Original Song and
Yeah,
Best Original Song for Blame Canada, but that didn't end up
yes,
winning anyway.
no, and let's see, 2008, Sita Sings the Blues
I haven't
would
seen
have been
that
a good
one, but I've
contender.
heard some good things about it.
You reviewed that a
Same.
while back, didn't you, Eli?
I have not, but I have heard good things about it as well.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah, and for 2010, I'm just giving this as a shout out to my friends Tia and Rachel. Tangled.
I would agree
Oh,
with Tangled actually. I didn't see it
sure.
until recently, but it's quite a good movie.
It is really good, yeah.
Yeah,
I'm surprised that Tangle wasn't nominated, but I guess it's very similar to the whole Monsters Inc., Atlantis the Lost Empire situation. It's like maybe they had to choose one or the other, and maybe Toy Story 3 was the big one.
probably. But yeah, those were the ones I wanted to get out of the way, and I will now defer the floor to Eli because I'm really curious to see just how many he's come up with.
All right, then, let's do it.
Well, among the highlights were what we mentioned Paprika and Tokyo Godfathers, but also Interstellar 4-5. Like,
Oh, yes, I love that so much. As somebody who's a huge Daft Punk fan, I love that film so much. And the fact that, it has no dialogue other than the music from their album Discovery. But you can be able to follow along with it, and the music just fits so perfectly. And Daft Punk wrote the script itself. They worked with Leiji Matsumoto. It's such a great film with amazing animation, and it just blends that whole French-Japanese thing so well.
yeah, I mentioned a few of the ones that were on the list already, like The Girl Who Left Through Time, Summer Wars, Red Line, the
Yeah.
Lego Movie, but also I'm very surprised Ponyo didn't get nominated.
I'm surprised at
But
that too, considering of how huge Ponyo was.
yeah, I don't know if it would have gotten nominated, but it's definitely a solid movie. So I'm gonna say Megamind should have gotten nominated as well. Oh, right.
Okay.
And a couple of them that I'm really surprised weren't were Your Name, like that
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
That's right. That movie just took over the internet when it came out in 2016.
the Peanuts movie.
Oh,
Like I
yes, the Peanuts.
yes.
That would have been my choice, actually. They should have had the Peanuts movie as a nomination. That would have been so great.
Maquia, which I reviewed a while back. Maquia When the Promised Flower Blooms. It's just this beautiful, really sad movie about how being a mom is hard but incredibly rewarding. Like, and then New Gods Nudja Reborn, which premiered on Netflix. And I'm not sure what the ruling is there, but it's still, I think, a very solid movie. And I mostly just miss covering Light Chasers Studios movies because apparently their deal with apparently they had a distribution deal through Redbox and Redbox went bankrupt, so now I have no way to watch their movies in English. So
Mm.
and also Inuo, just this beautifully done feudal Japanese rock opera almost.
Oh,
Like
Wow.
that sounds epic.
That sounds
yeah,
amazing.
yeah.
I think the criteria is it has to have a theater run for at least 2 weeks.
Hmm.
So probably one of the reasons why they don't get this is because they don't have like the budget to justify renting out all, getting the space in all the theaters, and they can't say, well, enough people will buy tickets to cover the expenses. At least that's just my opinion, my thoughts.
Yeah, I tried to stick when I went through the missing entries, I tried to stick to ones that got a theatrical release, but some of them the documentation isn't great. Like they like listed of animated movies that I found online don't really cover if they got a theatrical release or not a lot of the time. So also Suzume, like I was skeptical when I saw the premise that it's about a guy who gets turned into a chair, but like this movie made me feel things that I would never have expected from a movie with that premise. Like
Wow.
it's surprisingly really well done. And of course,
That's crazy.
and of course, there's also Look Back, and those are just the ones I've seen.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty hard for me to say like, oh, which films should have been nominated because I mean, you guys mentioned a lot of the stuff that I would have, said, oh yeah, like the Peanuts movie and Ponyo and one of those things. I mean, I would have definitely said about that. Yeah, I'm just trying to think about like any other films that I can think of that you guys didn't mention because it's just it's just a lot to think about. I mean, I think that yeah, definitely Paprika should have been nominated and Tales of Earthsea, I mean, I would have loved to have seen get a shout out. I mean, especially since, in animated films that were released in America it wasn't all that great. I mean, there's a reason why people don't really bring it up anymore. 2007, I'm trying to think because it's very similar in which like a lot of the foreign films were the major standouts at that particular time period. I mean, I know that Ratatouille was a big hit in the American animation division. Meet the Robinsons, I can understand why that wasn't nominated considering of how that movie underperformed when it first came out. But I've seen people discuss about how much of an underrated film that was and how people kind of grew into it over the years when it was just considered to be like one of the more mediocre Disney films. But yeah, I can see why some people argue that maybe it should have been. But yeah, I mean, all the other films that came out around like 2005, 2007 or 8-ish, I mean, yeah, it's definitely kind of like slim pickings for like great American animated films because there, to be quite honest, there aren't a lot of them. I mean, when you look back on some of them, it's like, oh, we have Space Chimps and Fly Me to the Moon and like, no.
Alpha and Omega.
Oh yeah, Alpha and Omega. Yes, that
And
masterpiece.
and the shitty reworking of the Magic Roundabout,
Oh
Dougal.
yeah,
Oh
I
God.
get I Aaron made me watch the Magic Roundabout, the British version. I don't understand anything of what's going on. And if I watch the American version, I'm like, I'm gonna be even more confused. It's like, okay, I know nothing of the Magic Roundabout, to be fair. I haven't seen the shorts, so I was going into this 100% blind, and I don't know what's happening. So if I were to watch the English version, it's gonna be like, oh, 90 minutes of just random pop culture references. It's like, okay, what do I want to be bombarded with? A storyline that you have to really know the show to watch, or random pop culture references that has absolutely nothing to do with the source material. It's like you're going to be in a train wreck either way. So yeah,
Though Tom Baker is really good in the villain role.
that's true. Yeah, but I mean that's not hard to say. No, anyway, but yeah, I feel like it wasn't until like maybe the 2010s that I was like thinking to myself, yeah, I mean, like I could have seen, some films that would have been brought up. Like I said before, like you said before, Tangled, I'm surprised wasn't like brought in for, that. And I would have liked to have seen, maybe that brought in, but I can understand Toy Story 3 because at the time, that was like the highest grossing movie that ever came out. Um the Secret World of Arrietty would have been really nice to see. I mean, I know that it's not one of the more major Ghibli films, but I remember seeing that in theaters. I was one of like maybe one of 20 people who was there and only like one or two kids. But the scene in which when, you have Arrietty just walking around and seeing all the big objects that were from the perspective of the human being, and when it starts raining, everything just starts calming down. I remember this one kid was like looking at it saying like, "Ooh, it looks really pretty." And I was just thinking like, wow, it's just an I mean, like kids can be able to easily get themselves invested in something like this, even though that is a very quiet film at a time in which when, action-packed or silly films were just starting to become really popular. Despicable Me was released in the same year as Arrietty. So the fact that, people were able to get invested in something like this, I was just thinking to myself, yeah, I mean, I'm glad that there are some people who are able to appreciate something like this. I think Tintin probably would have been a good contender
Yeah,
for the films
yeah.
because I mean it was a film that Steven Spielberg had a lot of passion of doing. It was like one of the last of the motion capture films right before that died off with Mars Needs Moms, and it was a
Oh, it's
great solid film. And I do really enjoy the fact that it was able to take Tintin in a really interesting direction that was very action packed and had a lot of great dynamics with the characters. It's the only animated film that John Williams ever composed for, and the music is
wow.
phenomenal. Yeah, the only other time in which John Williams composed anything animated related was the short film Dear Basketball with Kobe Bryant, where
Oh,
Glenn Keane was the director of that film. So yeah, John Powell, not John Powell. John Powell's done a ton of animated movies, but yeah, John Williams only done one out of his 60 plus year career. But yeah, I'm
huh.
surprised that Tintin didn't get nominated. It's such a great film, and it
Yeah,
probably would have been like a major standout for all the other motion capture animated films that were
yeah,
ever released. Um, I'm trying to think of anything else. I
yeah.
mean, Arthur Christmas probably wouldn't have been nominated, but I would have been curious to see if maybe it would have gotten a shout out.
I think it does definitely deserve one. I do think Klaus is the better new animated Christmas classic, but
I do agree.
Arthur Christmas was still a very solid movie.
Yeah, I did enjoy that. I did enjoy Arthur Christmas and the fact that it was able to play with the mythos of like, oh, here are the, different Santa Clauses and how they think that, toy delivery should be done for children all over the world. And then Klaus came along with their origins of Santa Claus, and I just thought, yeah, I can see that being the better movie for people. Let's see, 2012. I'm trying to think because with 2012, I mean, again, me not being the biggest Brave fan, and thinking that I'm sure that maybe Wreck-It Ralph, if I had to choose by my biases of video games, I would have loved to have seen it chosen. But you had like Paranorman, which is a fantastic film by like Pirates
Yeah.
Band of Misfits. I mean, I do like the movie, but I don't think it's one of Aardman's strongest films. I do think it's a solid film, and they were definitely trying to get back after years of not doing stop motion and finally getting back to their roots. And it is a very important film for that reason. And I do think that there are some moments in which it is funny, but yeah, it's not one of their stronger films, in my opinion. It's probably one of their more middling films. Rise of Guardians probably would have been interesting to see nominated. I mean, at least get a shout out because I do think that the fact that you have all of these holiday mascots coming together and being able to do some things that I thought were actually really cool as a concept. I'm just surprised that again it didn't get a shout out.
You know, but at least when it comes to 2012, we can all take comfort in the fact that the Lorax didn't get nominated.
Thank God.
I only can give it a slow golf clap.
And that's more than it deserves.
More than it deserves. Anyway, 2013. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, very similar to 2005 to 2008. When it comes to American animated films, they were all either mediocre or they all sucked. Frozen deserved to have won, hands down. Like, oh my God, it was so bad.
No,
Well, yeah, I mean, I do have to give a shout out to The Wind Rises, even though it was nominated. Yeah, it is a very sad and poignant film, and I know that there were some creative liberties taken because it's actually based off of a true story, but some of the stuff is just genuinely heartbreaking. And at the time, this was the film that Hayao Miyazaki wanted to go out as the movie he was going to retire with. Retire anyway, but yeah, I mean, if it would have been that way,
This,
it would have been such a sad note to go out on.
at this point, this guy has retired more than the Rolling Stones.
That's true. God, very true.
Like,
It's crazy to think about.
although I will push back a little bit on that because I actually think The Croods was kind of underrated.
Oh,
Like,
okay.
I didn't expect a lot out of it, but I think most of that I owe to Chris is owed to Chris Sanders.
Pretty much.
He's good at getting more emotion out of a premise than you'd think there would have been. Like, Obviously, some of the jokes are very Flintstones core, but it's got some really fun sets and slapstick, and there's a surprising amount of heartwarming moments in it. Like, after watching it while I was researching for this podcast, I was honestly tempted to watch the series and the sequel, and I would have if I'd had time. Right.
No, the sequel is not, it's kind of disappointing, actually. It's not that great. I haven't seen the
That's
series.
understandable.
I haven't seen the series yet, so I can't say about it. But I mean, this will probably be interesting for you. But The Cruise originally was going to start off as an animated adaptation of The Twits that was going to be co-written by John Cleese.
Hmm.
Wow.
Like, I mean, imagine the alternative world we would have been in if we could have gotten that instead of The
Hmm.
Croods.
Yeah. And also that year we also got Ernest and Celestine.
Oh, that's
Like
such a great film.
it's
Yeah.
a very cute, very entertaining movie about this unlikely friendship. I honestly think the only thing holding it back for me is that I think the sequel was better, but that's
Sure.
pretty high praise.
And
Yeah.
also they had an animated series from what I understand too, but it's only available in France.
Yeah. I only learned about that when I was researching about the second movie. So
Right. Yeah, as for 2014, yeah, pretty slim pickings for some of the choices there. I mean, yeah, again, I would have chosen How to Train Your Dragon 2 as my choice because you know, you just didn't really have a lot. I mean, you had like what? I mean, sure you had the Lego Movie. I mean, probably the Lego Movie or yeah, I would say that maybe the Lego Movie should have been a major contender for the nominations. I haven't seen when Marnie was there, but I've heard some really good things about it. Let's see what else. Box Trolls. I mean, I'm sorry. I'm not too much of a big fan of Box Trolls, but I do like the animation because, you know, it's really good and it's really well detailed, but I just really couldn't get myself invested in the story. Book of Life would have been really interesting to see nominated. I'm surprised it wasn't because it's
yeah.
just really interesting and I just love the presentation and the art style that it went into it. And it's yeah, Rio 2, yeah, I can see why that wasn't nominated. It just wasn't as good as the first movie.
Just R Roman numeral 2
Oh gosh, no. Way to do a Roman numeral joke. How very clever of you.
Yeah.
Let's see, 2015. Yeah, I can see why there was not a lot of competition for when Inside Out won because, I mean, sure, you had like Anomalisa, which I haven't seen the movie, but it's Charlie Kaufman, and he does a lot of really eccentric stuff with his portrayals, with his animated stuff whenever he gets a chance to do it. I mean, I even talked about how confusing that Orion in the Dark is, especially since he's known for doing really out there, really dark, psychedelic adult films. And the fact that he was able to tackle in, you know, a cute British children's book, it was just like, wow, that was interesting. Let's see. I mean, as for like anything else, I mean, there wasn't really that much of a competition. You had Minions, you had The Good Dinosaur, you had Home, and it's like, I mean, really? I mean, why didn't they put the Peanuts movie in there? I would have loved to have seen the Peanuts movie at least brought up. I mean, um, yeah, I think that it should have at least had a chance to be there because it was just such an amazing film. Um, I'm trying to
Um,
think of anything else that would have came out that year. I
I
haven't
will say
seen. Oh, go ahead.
I will say I have seen when Marnie was there, and
Okay.
I think it's actually pretty underrated. I don't hear this one talked about a lot, but maybe it should be. And also, once again, Mamoru Hosoda got snubbed again for The Boy and the Beast.
Oh no, that's rough.
Yeah.
Oof. Anyway, I'm trying to think of any. Okay, so now as for 2016, yeah, I could see why Zootopia won, and I can see why some of the others were kind of snubbed. I mean, Kubo and the Two Strings, I would have loved to have seen gotten a chance, and I've heard a lot of great things of My Life as a Zucchini, especially since I think that the same person who worked on that film, Claude Barras, is going to be doing another animated film. I just saw an announcement for an upcoming film called You're Not the One I Expected. So I'm just curious to see how that's going to turn out. But yeah, it's a great French animated film and it looks really interesting with the stop motion. I haven't seen it yet. And I haven't seen The Red Turtle either. I did hear some really good things about it. But yeah, you had like Kung Fu Panda 3, you had you know, Trolls, you had The Secret Life of Pets, Sing, you had Ballerina, you had Sausage Party.
Uh,
God. No. You had that Ratchet and Clank movie, which no. I, and Ice Age Collision Course, which is a big no. An absolute
Like,
big no.
Kubo and the Two Strings is my personal favorite Leica movie, so of course I'm gonna say it should have won. God,
Hmm.
even the special effects, like they were so proud of that giant Gashadokuro puppet they made that they even put the making of it in the end credits, and I honestly would have done the same. It's
Yeah, of course.
That is skill right there.
yeah.
Absolutely.
And also, not only did Your Name not get nominated, but neither did A Silent Voice,
Yeah,
which
and A
probably
Silent Voice didn't get nominated either.
probably would have been my pick if for first if Kubo didn't come out the same year. And there are a couple of ones I haven't seen that I am interested in. Like, I'm pretty sure you know all about this one, the 2016 BFG movie.
Yes, I have seen it.
Like, I've seen the first one, but not that one.
Okay.
And from what I hear, Storks definitely deserved a shout out.
I've
Like,
heard a lot of good things about Storks. It was kind of like one of those cases in which like a lot of people just like dismissed it because it wasn't a Pixar or a DreamWorks or an Illumination film. It's like, oh, it just looks really bad from like when people talked about it in the trailers. But then when people actually saw it, it was like, oh, it's one of those like movies that is actually really solid. So now people are starting to talk about it again.
and three movies that I'm also surprised didn't get nominated: Finding Dory, the new Jungle Book movie, or In This Corner of the World.
Okay,
All of which
well,
feel like they could have been nominated.
Interesting, because I mean, other than let's see, for Mowgli, I mean, other than just like one human, everybody else is animated. I mean, I know it's like more like a CGI animation, but it does count. So that could be it could have been a contender, sure. Let's see, for 2017, I'm trying to think. So. Yeah, I mean, again, kind of like a hit or miss kind of thing. It would have been interesting to see the Lego Batman movie would have been brought up there. I mean, kind of like how the Lego movie was. I did hear a lot of great things about it. I actually saw the Lego Ninjago movie with Chris when he came over to visit me in Florida at the time. And so I thought it was okay. I didn't think it was like a great Lego movie compared to all the other ones, but I did enjoy when we went out and we got to hang out and then we had dinner over at a restaurant and then he had to go back to Texas afterwards after we were done with our trip to Disney World. So we actually did have a fun time when we were able to meet up in person. Um, but yeah, I mean, I don't really remember anything of the movie afterwards, so I can't really say anything. I haven't seen the My Little Pony movie either. I know some people said it was a pretty solid movie and it did have its pretty good music and stuff like that, but yeah, one movie that I was surprised that it didn't get nominated in 2017 was The Breadwinner.
Yeah.
Yeah, I only just got to watch this movie because I'm covering it for a video, and this may be competing with The Secret of Kells as my favorite cartoon saloon movie if so far. Like,
Yeah,
for a studio
um,
that was already one of my favorite animation studios, that is high praise. Like,
absolutely. Have you read the book?
I have not.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I haven't read the book either, but I did know somebody who did, and they were saying like it's a pretty accurate telling of the movie. There are a few differences, but for the most part, they were able to get a lot of things pretty well adapted. And so, yeah, I did remember hearing about this, when it first came out, and I did hear that Angelina Jolie was going to be the executive producer of this film, and that's how it got one of the reasons how it got like a major release in the United States, and. Yeah, I mean, I remember just like a lot of people just talking about how much this movie was absolutely amazing. And yeah, I mean, even though that it was nominated, it didn't win. And I can understand Coco being the winner because I mean, everybody just talked about how amazing that film was. And Loving Vincent, I have seen Loving Vincent. It is an amazing film and just how incredibly ambitious it was. I mean, considering that it was done by a few passionate artists and it was done where each of the scenes is basically an oil painting coming to life and they're putting it all together in this really interesting rotoscope animation style where you get to see everything coming to life and the fact that it tells the story about Vincent van Gogh and about how what his death meant to some people and how, he wasn't appreciated with all the work that he was doing until long after he was gone. And You have, just this really interesting telling about, how death can affect people. And yeah, I mean, even though that it was a pretty decent hit in the box office, I mean, it doesn't really get talked about enough considering of how much work was put into this. I mean, how often do you hear of rotoscope animation involving with actual artists coming together to do oil paintings as like part of a scene that is going to be put together where it's like fluently talking and the animation is going through different transitions and all that kind of stuff. I mean, it's kind of crazy to think about how we're in a post AI world where anything can be generated with like just 1 second. But then you have like almost like a decade earlier where, 125 artists were painstakingly painting a whole bunch of paintings and putting it together into a film. Yeah, I mean, like, this is a film that I feel should be talked about more. Now, as for 2018, I'm trying to think about if there were any films that probably would have been brought in because, yeah, I mean, I could definitely see Spider-Verse just like crushing it because, I mean, there were some that were actually pretty decent. I mean, I did enjoy Isle of Dogs, not as much as I enjoyed Fantastic Mr. Fox, but it was still very good. I mean, I don't know how some people feel about this, but I don't like Early Man. I really don't. I think it's probably their weak. I think it's the weakest film that Aardman has ever done. I remember when I first saw the trailer, and I was thinking to myself, okay, well, they're gonna do this movie about cave people. I mean, maybe this is Aardman's take on the Croods. But no, it's very similar to how I was like bombarded with watching the teaser trailer for Brave, and it was going to be like something completely different to what was shown. And then all of a sudden, it's about like, oh, it's a movie about soccer. Great. And
What?
yeah, I know. It's a movie about soccer. Here's the thing. I mean, for those who haven't seen it, sorry. But yeah, I mean, you have these cave people who are living their regular life, and it just turned out that, oh, it's not taking place in prehistoric times, it's taking place in the Middle Ages. And they just happen to be far away from actual civilization. And then one day, one of the cave people just happened to be stumbling over to this one part of town because, well, I mean, they want to be the middle-aged people want to take over the entire land that's there. And then they realized that there was this cave painting of, somebody kicking a soccer ball and they want to learn more about it. And so they ended up into the middle-aged world where they're passionate about soccer. It's like, yeah, they have to play a game of soccer so that they can be able to save the land that they're living in. Otherwise, they would be kicked out and live in a volcano or near a volcano. And then the middle-aged people would take over the land because colonialism. So it's like, yeah, their biggest stake of being able to save their land and all the lives that they lived in is through a game of soccer.
They really ripped off Space Jam of all things.
Oh
Oh
my
God.
God. I hate this movie so much. I'm sorry for those who actually like it. I don't. I'm sorry.
It's just
I can see why it was never nominated because I just no, I would be so pissed if it was nominated. I'd be even more upset if it actually won.
yeah.
But anyway, I digress. I love dogs. I mean, like I said before, I do like Isle of Dogs. I did think it was like a pretty decent movie. I thought that maybe it wasn't as good as Fantastic Mr. Fox. I mean, some of the other movies that would have been, brought in for potential nominations, I mean, nothing really stands out, unfortunately. I mean, you have like what, Hotel Transylvania 3, you had Illumination's Grinch,
No.
Sherlock Gnomes, Peter Rabbit. Yeah, no. I can see why those particular films were chosen and the others were not. It's yeah.
We
Anyway,
still
moving
in
on.
we still in 2018.
Yeah, we are.
Like according to Wikipedia, and I guess the Oscars would agree, both the Bumblebee movie and Christopher Robin would have qualified. And
Oh,
based
Oh,
on what I've heard, they probably deserved a nomination at least.
oh, that would have been really great. It's kind of crazy how Bumblebee made one of that movie is one of the least amount of like the movie that made the least amount of money for Transformers besides Transformers 1, and yet people can regard it as like one of the best Transformers movie. How ironic is that?
I,
I mean, Spider-Verse made the least amount of money at the box office out of any of the Spider-Man movies, so
yeah.
yeah, same
Yeah, that's
thing there.
true.
I'm jumping back a bit here, but since we're discussing those movies that had like some amount of animation, by this criteria, if we're going back to 2003, would Looney Tunes Back in Action have qualified?
Maybe. I mean, it is part animation, part live action, so I don't see why not.
Yeah.
It I think it would deserve a shout out at least. Like,
Sure.
Hey, deserves it more than Space Jam 2.
yeah,
Oh, yes, very much so.
to bust out our really old angry reviewer criticism, that is not a movie, it's a commercial. Like,
Yeah.
even more so than the original was.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I didn't mean to get us off track. I was just something I was wondering about.
Yeah, don't worry about it. It's fine. Anyway, but yeah, 2019. It's kind of funny because I definitely do agree with what Rebel Taxi said. It's like worst, one of the worst years for animated films of the 2010s decade, but one of the best when it came to animated shows. And yeah, he's right because when it comes to like, I mean, here's the thing: I would have preferred Klaus to have won that year, but. It's not like you had a lot of pickings. I mean, you had Spies in Disguise, Abominable, you had the live action Lion King remake. You had Ugly Dolls, you had Wonder Park, the Lego Movie 2, you had Arctic Dogs. It's like, wow, pick your pick your poison. Pick your dumpster fire. God.
Like, I found a couple of gems, but I had to go digging.
Yeah, I don't blame
Like
you.
Dragon Quest Your Story had an
Okay,
ending
yeah,
that's
American films, yeah, I mean like yeah, th those were awful, but yeah, some of the more foreign films I could definitely see being more overlooked.
yeah, Your Story had an ending that some people didn't like, but I thought it was fine. Like I said, Promare absolutely deserved a nomination, and when it comes to movies that I haven't seen, I've heard good things about The Legend of Hay, which I'm going to be seeing pretty soon once the sequel actually gets released here.
Okay.
And how the hell did Weathering with You not get nominated?
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah, I've heard a lot of great things about that movie, and yet that wasn't nominated. I mean, like, wow. Seriously, I mean, you have Makoto Shinkai doing amazing films, and the Oscars is like, nah.
Most of the Oscar judges are a bunch of old white people, let's be
That's
real.
true,
Yeah.
actually. A bunch of old white people who apparently don't catch up with animated films because their children are too old to be watching animated films and they don't want to do their jobs to watch it themselves. So, yeah, I could see that. Anyway, but yeah, 2019, not a stellar year. I mean, here's the thing. I know that the early 2020s was a little bit rough when it came to some of the films that were released, considering that what happened with COVID. But, some of the stuff that did come out on streaming was actually pretty good. I mean, I would just argue that, some of the stuff that came out on Netflix was such a banger of like a lot of great films. Like, you had like, Soul Winning, and then you had like, various other films. Wolfwalkers was a great shout out, especially since you have another, fantastic Irish film done by Cartoon Saloon. But yet at the same time, I'm just surprised that some of the other films that released in 2020, like some of the Netflix films like Over the Moon or The Willoughbys wasn't nominated.
Yeah, like, and I also think A Whisker Away deserved a nomination. And
Yeah, I've heard about that. Yeah,
I've also heard good things about Children of the Sea, but I haven't seen it.
neither have
And
I.
and I think out of all the nominees, I think Over the Moon should have won in 2020. Like,
Yeah.
it's this beautifully animated movie with dark themes, and it has some characters that, if they were written badly, could have been really annoying, but they weren't. And it has an amazing soundtrack. Like, I'm a huge fan of this one.
Yeah. It's a yeah, I'm really surprised that it didn't win because of how just absolutely phenomenal it is. I mean, the fact that it was able to kind of be like a interesting take on Chinese mythology and bring it in a way that has like a really serious story about a young girl who's just getting over her mother's death. And it's like, wow, this is a movie that was released, that was nominated, but it didn't win. It's like, why? I mean, people would eat up all over this. If this was a live action movie, it would have been a major contender for the Oscars. It would have won 12 Oscars that year.
Even more
Anyway.
if it was a Disney movie.
Yeah, that's true. If it was a Disney movie, it would have won. I mean, Glenn Keane, yeah. It's like you have a major contender for like all the other animated movies. So it's like, yeah, I mean, if it was Disney, yeah, it would have easily won that year. But I mean, I can understand why Soul was the winner considering of all the accolades and all the praise it had gotten. I know that some people were kind of mixed with the ending. It's like, oh, there were I would have seen it as in a completely different way. And I can see that, but I could also see why they did not do that. And whether that it was the right decision, I can't say, but I could see either or of happening.
It
Yeah.
is kind of annoying that this movie that heavily advertised having a black protagonist, and it turned out to be basically about a black guy teaching a white woman that life is worth living.
Oof. Yeah, that's rough. Yeah, I have not seen the Demon Slayer movie, even though I've heard a lot of people saying that it was such an amazing film. As for whether it been Oscar nominated, I'm not 100% sure. And I know you covered the Doraemon movies, and I think that Stand By Me Doraemon 2 was released around that same time. So, I mean, I maybe it would have been a contender for Oscars. I don't know, but that could have been a possibility.
I'm not sure. I wasn't really a huge fan of either of the movies that I covered, honestly. But I do understand that Doraemon is this huge cultural touchstone in Japan, kind of like what Garfield is here. Like
Yeah. Of course. Yeah. And also you covered Josie the Tiger and the Fish, and that also came out in 2020.
I'm not normally a big animated romances guy, and Josie the Tiger and the Fish made me weep like a baby. Like
Wow.
they're
Yeah. As for 2021, yeah, there were a handful of films that I could see nominated. Like I've heard a lot of good reviews of Ron's Gone Wrong. Like I've heard some people saying like it was one of the more underrated movies that came out that year. Let's see what else. I really enjoyed Wish Dragon. That was another Netflix animated film that came out that year. And yeah, I also I haven't seen Vivo, but I've heard some really good reviews on it. And trying to think of let's see. Yeah, I mean, I can't really see anything that I would have said, "Oh yeah, like th those were great." Like I did not like Boss Baby Family Business. It was so annoying. I haven't heard a lot of good reviews on Rumble. Didn't I don't think that would have been a contender for best animated film. I haven't heard a lot of people talking about the Riverdance movie either. Nausea Reborn. I have not seen that movie. I did see Nausea 2 in theaters with Aaron, but I haven't seen any of the other Nausea movies. So maybe it could have been a contender. I'm not sure. But yeah, I mean, as for all the other ones, I understand that it was during the pandemic and there weren't a lot of other films that could have been released. Um, there was other ones. I heard really good things about Belle. Like that's another Mamoru Hosoda film that I've heard a lot of people talking about. That possibly could have been a contender as well, but yeah, that wasn't nominated either. And yeah, I mean, all the other ones. I mean, I could either take it or leave it. Like I saw the Spirited Untamed movie in theaters with Aaron because we had to cover it for DreamWorks, and it was so embarrassing to be quite honest, because it was like, oh, we're watching a horsey movie. It's like, oh God. And I haven't seen the Addams Family movies, the more recent animated ones, so I can't really say anything about it.
I saw the first new Addams Family movie. It was okay.
Okay.
And I do think that Belle had great animation and some pretty great music, but the story didn't come together that well for me. Like,
Okay.
if you
I did
want a
feature I did feature one of their songs in one of my episodes of Animation Jukebox. The music is actually really good.
Yeah, if you want a better movie starring that singer, especially in English, like I would definitely recommend The Colors Within. Like
Okay.
it's this beautifully told story about Catholic girls and one boy starting a band together, and it's it I know some people were probably turned off by the Christian theming, but I think it's this beautifully told movie with some great music, and it's also pretty gay. So
Awesome.
that's
All right. Well, again, that's something I definitely do need to check out then. That's another thing to add on to the list. Yeah, 2022. I guess, we're slowly getting out of the pandemic, and so there were some, pretty stellar animated films that came out that year, especially with Netflix. I mean, they were just hitting it out of the park with The Sea Beast, Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio. There was also, I'm trying to remember what else was
Gwendolyn Wild.
Wendell and Wild. Yeah, I actually did see
Yeah.
that movie last year for Old Spook Lane Creepy Chats. So
One of
yeah,
one of Henry Selick's best.
it is great animation style, but the story is super condensing and confusing. I'll just say that it's super complex. Yeah, I'm trying to think about like films that were out that could have been nominated. I mean, I'm looking through the list. I'm surprised that The Bad Guys isn't nominated. But I mean, I can understand Puss in Boots: The Last Wish being nominated because if we were to choose from one of the two, it is definitely one of the better ones. But and maybe they would have thought, too much DreamWorks, but they always put a lot of Disney stuff in there anyway. So, yeah, I mean, I can understand why they had to choose one of the two. But yeah, I mean, this was around the time in which there were some movies that were starting to come out that were actually starting to become pretty good.
The Deer King and The House were both pretty good too that year.
Okay.
Right. Like I also really liked The Sea Beast and Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. Also, Marcel the Shell with Shoes On.
Oh
Like
yeah.
I didn't know what to think of this movie when I first saw a trailer for it, but I never would have expected, coming from a character that looks like you'd find it in Shell City on the SpongeBob movie, this beautiful, moving, and honestly philosophical movie, let alone one that would break your goddamn heart.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I know that this probably wouldn't have been a contender for animated film that year, but I really enjoyed the Bob's Burgers movie. I That was the first movie I saw in theaters post-pandemic. I saw it with my sister. We're both huge Bob's Burgers fans, and yeah, our experience was not a disappointment. We really enjoyed ourselves. We liked the music. As fans of the show, we were, seeing about how the story was going to progress after what we've been following throughout the course of like it was like what season 8 at that time. So we were just figuring out about like how are they going to be able to bring a story as subdued as Bob's Burgers into the big screen. And yeah, I thought it was pretty good considering of it's always been hit and miss whenever that there's been a movie based off of a TV show. I mean, everybody likes to do that Simpsons joke. It's like, why pay for a movie when you could watch it on TV for free? So yeah, I was skeptical about it, having that as like my first choice to, go to the theaters post-pandemic to watch something, especially since at the time I had already gotten my shot and I was already safe. And this was around the time in which when there was not a lot of people who were getting sick as much. So, the call for mandatory masks was trying to come down. So my sister and I felt it was safe enough to do it. So yeah, I mean, I enjoyed it. And interestingly enough, I'm looking through this list right now. I mean, like, for animated films in Disney, you had Turning Red nominated, but not Strange World, which, I can understand because, Disney and sci-fi just don't mix, do they?
No,
I think
they
Strange
tried.
World deserved a little bit better than it got, but Turning Red definitely did. Like,
Yeah.
I think Turning Red was the weakest out of the nominees, but only because it was a fight for first place this year.
Oh,
Like,
for sure.
2022 had some real contenders, and Turning Red is still a good movie, and I'd argue an important one too. Definitely worth seeing if you haven't already. Okay, are you going to make the 9/11 joke or am I?
Absolutely not. I am not.
Turn on the TV.
Like,
It doesn't matter what channel. Someone had to. Someone had to.
Fair enough, but I definitely wasn't going to do it. You guys are more braver than I am.
just
Uh,
that fucking video, like it's completely overshadowed the movie in people's minds, like which it does not deserve. Like
no.
it's still a really good movie, and
Yeah.
especially after the statement that Disney released afterwards, like they're going to tell stories that are less biographical now, like by which we mean stories that only appeal to straight white men.
Pretty
Like
much, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and from what we saw what happened with Elio, it's definitely going to be very apparent.
Yeah.
Anyway, but yeah, some of the movies that probably would have been contenders. I mean, I did see Intergalactic once. My cousin's a huge Kid Cudi fan, and so he was really interested in watching the film, especially since I believe he also picked up the album at the same time. So it's like, oh, this is like Interstellar 4-5, in which it's like it's supposed to be an animated companion piece to the album. And yeah, I mean, it's actually pretty interesting. It's basically like a romantic comedy film, and the animation's beautiful, by the way. And and the music fits super super well. As for like if I would have probably maybe chose it as like a possible nominee, maybe, I mean, especially with the animation and how they were able to fit the music in. But I can see from that particular year in which like that year was like super stacked with amazing animated films. I can see why it just kind of like was lost in the shuffle. I'm trying to see if anything else that would have been contenders. I mean, if we're gonna go for like the whole live action animation hybrid, Chippendale Rescue Rangers, what do you guys think?
I know there are some people who did, but it wasn't for me.
What about the Sonic movies?
Oh, the Sonic movies. Oh, yeah, sure. Why not?
I,
Yeah, I
I
love the
would I
Sonic
would
movies.
I mean I would definitely nominate the second one, but
Yeah, first one was middling, but the second and definitely especially Sonic 3, those would be strong contenders.
I thought three was a little bit weaker, honestly. But I do think that both are pretty solid films.
Yeah.
I haven't seen the third one yet, and I really do need to catch up with it because they just announced the
Yeah.
fourth one.
You'll love it.
Yeah,
And I go in and I tell you this, as someone who was skeptical of Keanu Reeves voicing Shadow, he really steps into the role so well.
Okay, well, I am definitely curious about it because the last animated movie that I had seen Keanu Reeves in besides Toy Story 4 was Sponge on the Run. So, yeah, that's not
Hmm.
going to be a hard thing to follow.
hmm.
Anyway, but yeah, as for 2023, I mean, yeah, this was a case in which, like, again, I have not seen The Boy and the Heron, so I cannot say about my statement on whether it should have won that year. But I mean, the fact that Aaron and I at the time we were doing Journey to the Blue Sky, looking back on every single Blue Sky Studios animated film that had ever been released, and when Nimona came out, we were debating on should we wait until the end of the retrospective to watch it, or should we do it like right away? Overwhelmingly, everybody said just do it right away because the movie was that good. And so we did. And we watched it and we were just blown away with it. Then we saw the other movies throughout the retrospective and we were just so let down. We were like, yeah, if Blue Sky Studio would have like, released this as their magnum opus, it would have been literally the best thing they've ever released ever. I think it should have won that year. I mean, I know some people said that maybe Across the Spider-Verse, but I've seen it and I do like it. I just think it's like so full of story that I think it should be it feels like it's part of another story. Like you
Yeah.
have to wait until the next movie comes out. So,
Yeah, it feels like what it is, the
yeah.
first half of a movie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It feels like Deathly Hallows Part 1.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I do like it for the animation, and I do like the fact that it's able to continue on from Into the Spider-Verse, but yeah, it wouldn't have been my winner. I think that Nimona should have won, considering of, at the time of the movies that I did see. I did see Elemental, I saw Nimona, I did see some other movies that came out in 2023. I'm trying to look through the list. I saw Leo. I did see Leo because I mean there were some people who were actually requesting for us to see it. A much better movie than I thought it was going to be, considering that it was an Adam Sandler production and it was written by Robert Smigel, who had worked on a lot of stuff for SNL, and he's the co-creator of Triumph the Insult Comic Dog. And I was thinking, oh God, they're going back into doing animated films. They haven't done that since what,
Eight
Eight
Crazy
Crazy
Nights.
Nights? And
No,
no, the
Like,
Hotel Transylvania movies don't count, so I had low expectations for it, and
yeah.
I was completely wrong. The movie was actually a lot better than I thought it was going to be.
yeah,
Yeah.
I basically put shout out to Leo because Adam Sandler made an animated movie that doesn't feel like an insult to the medium.
That's
Yeah.
true, yeah. I don't know if
I
it had
think
anything to do with Robert Smigel being the writer on this. I don't know, but yeah, I mean, I
I
just thought
think
it was a really excellent movie, and the fact that it was a musical and the music numbers don't suck, I was surprised with it.
honestly, I just wish it could have won something because I would have loved to have seen Robert Smigel just go up on the stage and accept the award with the Triumph puppets.
That would have been so funny. God.
Yeah.
Also, shout out to Robot Dreams.
I
Like
have
it
not
took
seen it, but I've heard so many good things about it.
Yeah, it took me a bit to see this one, but I'm glad I did. Like, it's a movie without dialogue, which for me is kind of an uphill battle, but I think it still told the story beautifully. It's also a really just sad and lonely story, but it's really well told. I really get why animation Twitter was talking up this movie so much. Like,
Yeah.
and also in regards to Elemental, I will say the trailers did not make this one look good, and I'll admit I was right there with most people, but it surprised me with how beautiful and even heartfelt it was when I actually saw it. Like,
Hmm.
I think a lot of people wrongfully wrote this one off as a cheap opposites attract love story, but in reality, I think it's anything but. It's definitely one of the better animated romance movies I've seen in a while.
Yeah, I can I remember the statements that people said about how, oh, Pixar has lost its touch, and oh, these movies are starting to become stale, and all that kind of stuff. And I know, and I also did. I remember when the critiques of the movie came out, where people felt that it was too niche for the audience, and it wasn't a universal film that everybody could relate to. It's like, oh, only people who are in a romantic relationship with somebody who's the complete opposite of them can relate to this, or people who are first generation Americans whose families had come from a foreign country and have like these strict ideals of what they should be in the future. So, yeah, I mean, I remember seeing, reviews on that. And yeah, I do think that there are some things that I feel that could have been done a little bit better. I mean, I really did like Ember as a character. I felt that Wade, I didn't think he was developed enough. I mean, they were talking about like all the things that he was doing, but it was more like just a lot of telling, but not a lot of showing. I would have liked to have seen more development from him. And, you got to see a lot from Ember, but you don't get to see a lot of stuff from Wade. And I thought that if you're going to have a movie about these two having a relationship, I felt that maybe it should have been balanced a little bit more. Balanced. Anyway, but yeah. And also, they try to like do the cop out of the ending. It's like, oh no, he's dead. But no, of course not. They made it out into a joke. And it was like, I just felt it was kind of a little bit. I don't know. I just didn't really like how that was done. But other than that, I did think that it was a pretty solid film for when it came out. Probably not one of my favorite Pixar movies that came out in the 2020s, but it was still pretty good. It didn't deserve all the hate that it gotten online. Um,
And like, not every animated movie has to be for everybody. First of
sure.
all,
No, of
that's
course
what
not.
that's what executives think. But
Yeah.
like if it weren't, and also in regards to The Boy and the Heron, I know it won, but like this was the first Ghibli movie that I ever saw in theaters.
Oh,
Like
okay.
like if and Also, shout out to the unexpectedly amazing voice acting work from Robert Pattinson, of all people. Like, I am pro Robert Pattinson doing weird guy movies from now on, since he can do that.
Okay, well, there you go. Again, it's just unexpected of the fact that, oh, this one person was in this thing, but then this person ended up being on another thing, and it was amazing. So yeah. Yeah, Eric Robles glitch text. There you go. Very similar thing. I can understand why the Super Mario Brothers movie wasn't nominated for the Oscars, but I would have loved to have seen gotten a shout at least.
Yeah, it's a good movie. I think some people have been really cynical about it. Oh, it's just like, oh, it's just an IP movie for Nintendo to show off. Like, yeah, but it's also a really well done one. It's beautifully animated, and I understand how people didn't like the casting of Mario, but still, like, even with that, I think it's a pretty solid movie.
Yeah.
Oh, who knows? Sequel's going to be out soon. Maybe if it does well, it'll be a contender for 2027.
Who
Who knows?
knows?
Yeah. Mutant Mayhem. I thought that the animation was really well done. I did like the fact that they were able to take the style of Spider-Verse and do their own take on Ninja Turtles. I love the fact that the voice cast are actual teenagers. Like that is a great detail that I have not seen done anywhere else. Like, yeah, they're called Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. They should sound like teenagers, not full-grown adults in their 40s. So, yeah, I absolutely love that. And Splinter is like the best dad ever. He's such a great dad to them. And the fact that he's overprotective, which makes a lot of sense if you can know about his backstory, and the fact that Jackie Chan plays as him is like perfect casting. So yeah, I mean, you've seen the origins of Ninja Turtles like way too many times because they have the comic books, they have the 1987 series, 2003 series, 2012 series. Yeah, there's been a lot of Turtles.
Rise.
Rise of the Ninja Turtles. There's that too. So yeah, I mean, it's been told time and time and time again. And the fact that they're able to do some new, fresh takes on a story that we already are familiar with is really remarkable. I have to say, as somebody who is a Turtles fan.
Yeah. Like I didn't like it as much as some of the other movies, but I thought it was pretty all right. Eh,
Sure, yeah, sure. Now and as for like all the other films that would have came out that year, like I'm trying to think, like, yeah, I can see why movies such as Migration and Ruby Gillman Teenage Kraken and Trolls Band Together didn't get nominated. Like, yeah, I could see that. Although it's funny because Wallace and Gromit: Adventures in Most Foul was nominated, but not Chicken Run: Dawn of the Nugget.
Huh.
I mean, I can understand why because, some people felt that, Chicken Run was all right as a movie as it is. It didn't need a sequel. I was curious to see how they were going to continue with it, but yeah, I can see some people being a little bit disappointed with it.
on the subject of movies that disappointed people, I'm going to say something, and I don't think a lot of people are going to agree with it, but I'm going to say it anyway. People were way too mean to Wish.
Okay.
Like
Oh,
like I didn't think it was that bad. Like people were treating it like this was the death of Disney and everything. Like you people need to get some real problems. like like it is just I hate to say that because I take animation seriously too, but like people were really mad at this movie for like no reason, and I'm like,
oh,
really?
oh,
Like,
they
Hmm.
were mad. They were mad at it for a reason to get that internet clickbait money.
There you go.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I can understand why some people were disappointed with it because this was supposed to be like a major milestone movie, the 100 years of Disney. And it's supposed to be like, yeah, they're supposed to be making a big deal about it. And I've heard like there were some things that they changed or rearranged from the concept of the story, and maybe some people actually preferred it that way. I mean, I could see why some people said that maybe it, fell apart with some of the changes they had to do and they should have left it as is. But yeah, I mean, like as for like the worst animated film that came out that year, oh, absolutely not. There were a lot worse that came out that year that was way worse.
yeah.
Yeah.
Also,
Yeah.
also that villain song that everyone seems to hate, not that bad. I am
I,
gonna die on that hill. I don't care.
all right then. Yeah, as for 2024, I mean, we talked about how Flow won that year. Again, I personally would have liked to have seen Memoir of a Snail win that year. I mean, yeah, trying to look through the list and yeah, I mean, it's pretty mixed. I mean, you had Moana 2, which I mean, if you know about the behind the scenes stories about how that happened, I can definitely see why that wasn't nominated, considering that it was supposed to be a Moana TV series and then they consolidated it into a film. So,
And it feels
yeah.
like it.
And it does feel like it, yes. I have not seen Thelma the Unicorn. I have not seen Nida's the Zoopocalypse. I haven't seen Lord of the Rings, the War on Rehoim. I've heard some interesting things about it. People saying like, oh, the animation's janky and it's confusing for a Lord of the Rings movie. I doubted that Megamind the Doom Syndicate would have been nominated, considering that it sucked. Um, I would have loved to have seen Transformers 1 get a shout out because I've heard a lot of great things about it.
It's pretty good. Like
Yeah.
I definitely would say it should have gotten a shout out at least.
Oh, for sure, yeah. And yeah, I mean, if we're gonna go for like the live action animation hybrids, I mean, you had like what, Harold and the Purple Crayon, which no,
God
and
no.
Does anyone even remember that?
and then there was If, which is Ryan and the Purple Crayon, but better. And Mufasa the Lion King, I haven't seen the movie, but I've heard some, interesting things about it. And as for and you said that Look Back was a highlight, and there was also the My Hero Academia movie. There was The Glassworker that also came out that year as well. So yeah, there were some pretty good Japanese movies that came out that year, and some other foreign films. And now I guess now finally we can go over to, as of right now, the 98th Academy Awards, which is the most recent one. And yeah, considering that K-pop Demon Hunters had taken over the world, I'm not surprised that it won that year. And I'm not surprised that it won for Best Original Song either with Golden, which I mentioned this in my episode of Animation Jukebox, but it's the first song that won for Best Original Song from a non-Disney animated film in 28 years since When You Believe from the Prince of Egypt.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah, no other animated song that was nominated from a non-Disney animated film. I'm talking about, now I'm not talking about like, oh, Let It Go or, Dos Oruguitas or anything like that. No, 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 no. I'm talking about like a non-Disney animated film. And yeah, believe it or not, there's actually not a lot of nominations for it. There's only been like a handful of them. There's Somewhere Out There from the American Tail. Then you had Blame Canada from Bigger, Longer, and Uncut. Then you had When You Believe, The Prince of Egypt, The Prayer Request for Camelot. You had Father and Daughter, the Wild Thornberrys movie, Belle Rendezvous from the Triplets of Belleville, Believe from the Polar Express, Accidentally in Love from Shrek 2. Then you had let's see, Real in Rio from Rio, Happy Despicable Me, Everything is Awesome, the Lego Movie, Can't Stop This Feeling, Trolls, and yeah, Golden from K-pop Demon Hunters. Those are the only non-Disney animated songs that were nominated for the Oscar, and only two of them have ever won, which is crazy to think about. And yeah,
Yeah.
K-pop Demon Hunters. I'm gonna be, the basic bitch here. I'm sorry, but it deserved to win that year. I'm sorry.
No,
I
I agree with you. Like,
yeah.
like I didn't expect it to win, though I'm not complaining. Like, I, as someone who loved Kipo and the Age of Wonder Beasts, and I just saw that recently, and it pretty much was. If you don't know it, this movie only came about because of that. Because originally Rumi was supposed to be a character that was going to show up in the Kipo webcomic, and
Oh,
Maggie
neat.
Kang and Maggie Kang is the wife of the webcomics creator, and
Oh,
she was
Chris
basically,
Applehans, right?
yeah, and or Bradford Secrist, I think.
Right,
And
Chris, yeah.
she was basically like, "Hey, can I borrow that?" And the movie she made with Rumi took the world by fucking storm.
That's an
And
understatement. It
and
Yeah.
decimated everything and didn't leave any crumbs behind.
Yeah. Yeah.
it's even greater when you consider that Rumi was actually named after their daughter.
That's very
So
Uh,
sweet. That is so
it's like,
adorable.
yeah, I know some people are going to say that people just voted for this because their kids or grandkids were all hyped about it. And to that I say, so what? It still deserved it.
Yeah, it
yeah,
did. I mean, it was the one that stood out that year. I mean, no, I mean, yeah, you had like other anime films that, did stand out. I mean, Zootopia 2 was pretty good. I mean, you had
Hey, bub.
yeah, that too. Dogman was actually really solid too. It was a great solid film. The How to Train Your Dragon remake was a major surprise for me personally. Like I was somebody who was a little bit skeptical about it, but then when we saw it in the theaters, we were just like saying, "Wow, that was actually really, really good," and we didn't expect it to go that far. Bad Guys 2 also, was pretty solid, and I haven't seen In Your Dreams. I haven't seen let's see, what Lost in Starlight. I haven't seen the three Christian films that came out that year. Like, yeah, I haven't seen the animated Christian trilogy. I haven't seen
Huh.
King of Kings. I haven't seen David, and I haven't seen what's the other one? Let's see. I know that there was another one that was released that year, but yeah, I haven't seen any of those movies. Yeah, but anyway, yeah, I'm just surprised that there were other movies that would have came out that year that probably would have been contenders. But yeah, Light of the World, that's what it's called, Light of the World. Yeah, I haven't seen those three movies that came out that year. Um, but yeah, I was gonna say that I mean, but there were some movies that were released that year that weren't good. Like, I'm sorry, but Aaron and I did not like Elio.
I didn't
The
either.
Yeah.
More like meh, Leo.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's about what I would say too. Like the animation is fine. I like the stuff with Elio and Gordon, but I really didn't like how the story between Elio and his aunt was handled.
Oh
But
man,
No.
yeah, I'm sure you're gonna probably bring this up in your video, but man, knowing
I
about
already
the
did.
behind,
But
oh yeah, yeah, I'm knowing about the behind the scenes stuff is a mess. Like, oh my God, I
Yeah.
haven't seen a train wreck of a production since Brave and the Good Dinosaur. It is that bad. And let's see, Aaron and I, we also saw Fixed, and yeah,
Oh,
that was a trip and a half.
mm.
Never going to see that again, that's for sure. And
And who could forget the seminal classic, The Twits?
oh yeah, that too. Oh God, I'm so sorry we
Oh,
had to bring you into that.
Yeah.
Oh man, that was legitimately awful. And considering that we've been hearing about that movie for years, and we were thinking about like, oh, it's gonna be like one of the very few times in which we're gonna have an animated adaptation that we haven't seen before. It's not a Charlie and the Chocolate Factory or a James and the Giant Peach or a Matilda. It's like it's gonna be actually something different. It's gonna be the Twits, and it turned out to be
Yeah.
awful.
And I was like, yeah, because those movies were good.
Yes,
Like,
exactly.
I haven't seen Zootopia 2 yet, unfortunately.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't released on streaming at the time I had made my video, my year-end video.
Oh, okay,
And
gotcha.
I also haven't seen Arco. I'll probably
oh,
cover that at the end this year-end video.
Well,
I
as
think
of
But
as of the making of this, Arco is out in theaters right now in the UK, so maybe I'll get a chance to see it, but I'm not sure.
I think you'll
but
like it. Honestly, this is my take. If K-pop Demon Hunters hadn't been in the running, Arco would have been my pick for the winner.
Oh, okay.
really, okay.
Yeah.
And probably the only one that I think arguably could have won over K-pop Demon Hunters was Little Emily or the character of Rain.
Oh, okay.
Like, I'm honestly surprised that this one didn't win because it seems like the type of pretentious art the
Yeah.
Oscars would go gaga for. Like,
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean that in a good way though, because it's about this
I,
little girl first discovering the mysteries of life. Like,
hmm.
it's actually pretty approachable in its execution though. Like, I think this is the type of movie you're going to be seeing in future film classes.
I'm
Interesting.
I'm gonna have to disagree with you. I mean, I know that it has some lofty ambitions, but it's a movie that when I saw it, I felt it was one that it thinks it's deeper than it actually is.
I could
Okay.
see that. Like, but it's still worth seeing, I would
Oh yeah,
argue.
I'm not going to argue that. I just think it's a little full of its. No, I guess full of itself isn't wrong. It aims high but doesn't quite stick the landing.
Hmm.
Eh,
I haven't seen it, so I can't really say too much about it. All
Oh,
right,
yeah.
oh,
so yeah, we've been talking for over 3 hours at this point, and we haven't even gotten to the two major questions I wanted to leave out on, so might as well cover that really quickly. So, right before this podcast, I sent Eli and Jim these questions. So, yeah, this is the fourth year in a row that a Disney or Pixar movie had not won the Academy Award. So, 2022 was Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, 2023 was The Boy and the Heron, 2024 was Flow, and 2025 is K-pop Demon Hunters. So the question is, what happened? Why do you think that is? Do you think that it's due to Disney itself? Do you think it's the fact that maybe that, tastes have changed over the past couple of years? I'd like to know your thoughts into this.
I think that a lot of it comes from stagnation. Like, a lot of what Disney has released lately has been sequels, or in the case of Wish, of love letter to some of their previous films. Like I said, I didn't hate Wish, but I get the criticism that Disney is relying too much on nostalgia, especially these days. Like, I get that in today's world, franchising is encouraged to the point where making new IPs is hard, but if you're wondering why Disney hasn't been wowing you lately, I think that's why. Like, I loved Inside Out too, but I get why people are annoyed.
I'd
Okay.
agree with you. I'd agree with you on that. There is a stagnation issue. I also think there's a matter that, like, for a good chunk of the 2010s, there was a lot of online mockery whenever news would come out about the board making their votes and people talking about how they just chose Disney by default and didn't bother looking at the acts, didn't look bother looking at the other ones. And I guess they were tired of feeling that level of criticism, and they decided, okay, we're going to actually listen to people.
Yeah, as for me, I think it's due to I mean, I could see all of those being a factor. I definitely could. The Disney stagnation, the fact that, there was like a lot of criticism from online people. I can definitely see that. I also do think that it's probably due to our standards changing and us being exposed into other cultures and other thoughts of life in this world. When I did that discussion of K-pop Demon Hunters, I was talking about how Korean culture has blew up in a way that hasn't been seen since the 2000s when Japanese culture was majorly popular. In which that, we've gotten a lot of Korean soap operas and a lot of Korean shows that have popped up on Netflix and Hulu that people have gotten crazy over. There's been a lot of fusion cuisines that have gotten a lot of people interested. There's a lot of Korean barbecue restaurants. Korean music is hugely popular. BTS, Blackpink, it's everywhere on Spotify nowadays. And billions of people have been tuning into it all over the world. And I think that, in a combination of that, plus people wanting to see something interesting and people wanted to see something outside of the cookie cutter stuff that we've been accustomed to over the past couple of years, I think that's the reason why it caught on. It was the movie that Sony Pictures Animation thought, oh, this is never going to catch on. We're just going to stick it onto Netflix. And then it just blew up because it was something different that wasn't from Disney or Pixar or DreamWorks or Illumination. It was something that was following in the trend of what was getting acquainted with Korean pop culture, and also the fact that it was telling an interesting story that had broadened out what people had been coming accustomed to, and to showcasing that, hey, there's more to life out there than what you're familiar with. And I think that, I think that's probably one of the reasons why. I mean, Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio is like, we've heard the story of Pinocchio so many times. I mean, the 1940 Disney adaptation is a classic, and the book is pretty screwed up for what it's worth, but there's been so many incarnations of it. I mean, we didn't even talk about this, but 2022 was the year there were so many Pinocchio adaptations. It wasn't even funny. It
Yeah,
was so wild. But
there were supposed to be even more, but one of them got delayed.
oh man, but still, it's like this was the one that caught people by surprise. And yeah, I mean, this was a major contender for Netflix saying like, hey, we can release great stuff too. And yeah, I mean, the fact that it was an American production, you had Guillermo del Toro behind it, and you had a very interesting take that was not seen before. And, it was able to tell a story of Pinocchio that people were just like not familiar with, that was actually really interesting, that gotten people talking again. And yeah, I mean, as for The Boy and the Heron, I mean, yeah, it's Miyazaki coming out of retirement, and this was supposed to be the movie that he was supposed to have as his last hurrah, and saying like this is a movie dedicated to his grandson. And again, as somebody who has not seen it, I can see why people were falling in love with it. It was supposed to be like it's the return of Miyazaki. It's supposed to go into the whole fantasy world that's taking you to somewhere else that's completely different. And it has this really heartfelt story. And I guess people just were absolutely crazy over it. And once again, it's, Miyazaki, it's Ghibli. I mean, it's to be expected something amazing. And I already talked about why I think Flow won and K-pop Demon Hunter, so I'm not going to go into that. But yeah, I just think it's a combination of just like, people breaking out of their comfort zones into showcasing on what people want. They want to learn more about what's around them. And I think that, we're in a melting pot of, different cultures, different representation, different opportunities. And I think that people were dying to get more of that. And so I think that the fact that, we've heard a lot of stories from Disney saying they're going to cut away the LGBTQ stories. They're not going to tell more personal stories. They want to tell stories that are going to be more universal to the public. And yeah, I think that people were just saying like, yeah, no, that's not what we want. We want something else that's different. So again, that's just my personal opinion on why that is. Anyway, but yeah, I just want to leave it off on one more note right before we go. So, as I mentioned before, that 2001 was the year in which they started these. But if you remember, all the way back in 1991, Disney's Beauty and the Beast was nominated for Best Picture. And yeah, it didn't win, but it had gotten people thinking that maybe there should be more Disney films that should be nominated for Best Picture. And maybe they should have a category for this, but it didn't happen until 2001. I know there was a lot of rumors going around that it would have happened around the year 2000, and Chicken Run maybe could have been a potential winner and it got snubbed in the Oscars. But no, that's actually a rumor. The reason why was because they felt that there was not a lot of animation studios that could be putting into the nominations of animated films. I mean, you had like Disney, you had the beginnings of Pixar and the beginnings of DreamWorks, and yeah, I mean, we started getting more into the foreign market at the time, but yeah, you didn't really had a lot of options, which is why they did it in 2001 as opposed to doing it a lot earlier. So I had asked Jim and Eli in advance about like if they had the choice for the films that came out from 1991 to 2000, what would have been their picks for best animated film of that year? So
Oh,
who wants to go first on this one?
let me get my list up.
All right, then.
Uh,
I'll let you do that.
okay, 1991 would have gone with Beauty and the Beast.
All right, then.
Yeah, I would.
1992. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say I would stick with Beauty and the Beast as well. Like
Yeah, same here. I would have done the same
Yeah.
thing.
92, Aladdin, still my favorite Disney movie.
Aladdin is definitely up there. For me, it's probably a tie between Aladdin and Porco Rosso, which are both great movies. Like I wouldn't
Okay.
argue if you picked either of those.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I mean that is a pretty hard choice, but I would have probably gone with Aladdin myself.
Okay. Uh, 93, Batman, Mask of the Phantasm.
Oh, that's a great choice.
Mask
Yeah.
of the Phantasm is a great choice, but I'd probably go with The Nightmare Before Christmas.
But it
That's
was
my choice. That's my
yeah,
choice.
it was a hard decision between those two, but I just had to stick with my childhood interests.
Fair
That's
Uh,
enough.
fair.
94, Lion King.
Yep,
Yeah,
that's my choice.
like I think the first One Princess was pretty good before it got the ton of disappointing sequels.
I've seen every single one of them, and they are really bad.
And
Oh
uh
yeah.
and Feliday is also probably worth a watch if you have the stomach for it.
Yeah.
I've heard some things about that when David was one of my co-hosts back in the day. I've not seen it yet.
Yeah. Don't watch if you're a cat person.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Uh, 95, Toy Story.
Although I probably would have, I mean, Toy Story or Ghost in the Shell for me personally.
Oh, Ghost.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ghost in the Shell. That was a hard one for me because I don't know when it got an American release. But
Oh,
yeah,
right. Yeah, that's a good
but
point.
but actually, now that you bring it up, okay, I retroactively changed it to Ghost in the Shell. Then.
Okay,
Toy
then.
Story and Ghost in the Shell are great picks. I would also argue the first Balto movie, but honestly, I can't front. I'm picking a Goofy movie.
Oh, that's a great choice too.
It's
Yeah.
legitimately a great family movie that still resonates with people today. It's definitely of its time, but it feels like it's wonderfully dated instead of outdated, if that makes sense.
No,
Have
I
you seen the
agree.
documentary?
No, but
Oh,
I've
you
heard good
should. You
things.
absolutely should.
Yeah. 96. That was kind of a weak year, so I don't know, either Space Jam or Beavis and Butthead.
Oh, I forgot that
Honestly,
Beavis and Butthead Do America came out that year.
honestly, for me, I don't think anything's competing with Hunchback of Notre Dame. Um,
Yeah, I mean, even though James and the Giant Peach did come out that year, but yeah, I'm choosing Notre Dame.
I mean, either way,
Okay.
that means Disney wins, but still.
True, that's
Yeah.
true. But it's like I said earlier, it's like, you mean, you had what Disney was like a major contender that year, which is why they decided not to do best animated features around 1991. So it's like you had what? You had yeah, Disney, you had at the time when Toy Story was coming out, you had Pixar, then DreamWorks came out in 98, and then you had everybody else. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, continue.
97, I would have given it to Cats Don't Dance.
Yeah. I like Disney's Hercules, but it lost to Cats Don't Dance. For a reason. Like,
Yeah.
I honestly understand. That's a pretty great movie. And there's also Princess Mononoke, which is quite good too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But my pick for 1997 is Perfect Blue.
Oh,
Ooh.
wow.
It's a movie you don't forget after watching it. Then again, it's a movie you also need to have the stomach for because it goes places.
Yeah.
An unconventional choice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Mononoke would have been my choice.
Yeah.
I wouldn't
Okay.
argue with that one either, honestly.
Sure. That's fine.
Yeah. All right. 98, one we've discussed already, Prince of Egypt.
Yeah.
Prince of Egypt is great, although
Yeah.
although for me it's also a close tie with Mulan. Like,
Oh, I can see that. Mulan's
Yeah. I mean,
good one.
that would be a close tie for me too, personally.
Yeah. 99, that was when I chose Mononoke because that's when I got the US release.
Oh, okay.
for me, it's between Tarzan and the Iron Giant, and ultimately, I got to go with the Iron Giant.
It would have been a tie between Iron Giant and Toy Story 2 for me, and yeah, I choose the Iron Giant as well.
Yeah.
Good choice.
I know Cartoon Network kind of ran it into the ground by showing it over and over, but I still haven't gotten tired of it.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I mean, it's very similar to when TBS did the whole Christmas story marathon for like over decades at that point. So, I mean, I'm one of those people who just like say, okay, I'll watch it once, and if it's there, like, I know that it's still running, I'll maybe like catch it once or twice. But yeah, I'm not one of those people who like just sit down and watch through marathons of it. That's crazy to me. But yeah, I can see
Yeah.
why some people would, argue with that.
Right. And finally, 2000, I give that to Emperor's New Groove.
Yeah, for me, it's kind of a tie between The Emperor's New Groove and Road to El Dorado, which I think would make for a great double feature.
Oh, definitely.
I would probably say for me, it's a tie between Emperor's New Groove and Chicken Run, but so I'll go with Emperor's New Groove as well. All right, so yeah, that is it for our discussion of looking back on animated films that had either won or were nominated for the Oscars for Best Original Film. So yeah, Jim, Eli, thank you so much for joining me.
No problem.
It was
I
fun.
Yeah, so yeah, why don't you plug and promote your stuff?
Well, I still post videos occasionally on my YouTube account, which you can find James Bevan, and my Instagram account, jbevan1985. And if you happen to be living in Northeast PA, you might catch my brother Eric and I doing some shows this upcoming summer as Bevan Brothers Comedy and Magic.
Okay, and what do you got, Eli?
Well, you can find me on YouTube, Patreon, and my blog spot at and Blue Sky at The Hero of Tomorrow. And this was actually a really interesting topic to dive into. So much so that I don't think I'm actually done with this. I'm probably going to do a follow-up video where I've seen more of the nominees that I missed and some of the other movies that I think deserved a shout out. So it's probably going to be a pretty interesting deep dive into the history of the Best Animated Feature Awards. I don't know when that'll come out because it took me a while to even get as far as I did, but still.
Yeah. And as for me, you can follow me on Blue Sky, on Instagram, on YouTube at Old School Lane. You can also check out my work on Animation Jukebox, which is on Daz in the Hat Radio. My show, new episodes air on Mondays at 6 o'clock p.m. British Standard Time, but you can check out the reruns on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays. So let us know in the comments below about your thoughts of the winners and nominations for the Academy Awards for Best Animated Film. Did you agree with the choices at the time? Did you disagree? What choices would you have liked to have seen? And yeah, I mean, if you want to let us know about your reasons on why Disney hasn't won the Oscar for Best Animated Film for 4 years in a row, let us know. That's it. Hope to see you around soon and take care.
So on.